It is the first week of Titan Esports Winter Split here in 2025, and we are kicking off the Immortal League on this fine Thursday night with a rematch from the Fall Split Grand Final. The same organizations with a couple new players thrown into the mix, but nonetheless, hopefully we get to see some good League of Legends. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ferris, and for the first time, us two, myself and Golden Gad, will be on the desk together. It's going to be a pleasure to work with you, my friend, and hopefully we see some good games.
Yeah, I'm hoping to see some great things here. We got DropDeadGaming and Omega Akuma pairing knives. Now a little bit slightly different from their last name with slightly different members as well. So across the board, I'm expecting some good things. Obviously, this is Immortal, so Immortal League is going to have that 600 LP cap. So expect the best of Titan in these games, so we can hold them to the highest standard possible here. You know, it's not Divinity where we're watching Emerald. This is as high as it gets here at Titan. So, you know, it's going to be a real good game, and with all the meta changes coming through, I'm expecting some big toss-ups, and obviously this league is also fearless, so best of 3. So expect some unique champion picks, I'd imagine.
Yes, and we've seen Fearless as well up in the Tier 1 leagues. That's been really fun, but we've been seeing it in Titan for at least a little while now, at least in Immortal in the last split. So again, that's going to be continuing. That is exciting. And you talked about changes, Golden Gad. Well, we're in Season 15 now, and there's a lot of new things on the Rift that we've yet to see at these teams in the Immortal League kind of test out and get their feelings with. I'm talking about Otacon, especially Voracious Otacon, which that's one of the big things that I'm wondering here, Golden Gad, is will we see a Voracious Otacon, or will these games be bloody enough to give us a Ruinous Otacon, something we're not used to seeing in pro play? These are things that I'm really excited to look forward to. You got the Petals as well that are giving XP, the new Noxus themed map, whole lot of exciting stuff for us to take a look at here, Golden.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. I will say, you know, I was casting Divinity earlier this week, and they were getting Voracious Otacon. So I'm gonna just put a prediction out that just maybe we'll be able to see that very common buff now with that 150-second respawn timer. Basically, you get that free GA. Now, of course, slightly nerfed to give 200 gold per kill rather than the 100 when the season first launched. So a little bit less value, but still definitely one of those buffs that can really change a game. And it's just like Elder Drag, where you can kind of flip for it and really get a great advantage coming into it. But now we're going into draft for game 1 here in this season.
And so it is Omega Akuma pairing knives. Now, this is another Akuma esports organization or team from that organization, although it's new players. They said it's a grand finals rematch. All of these players that you see were not on the previous Akuma Omega Riddy's Ego roster. On the other side, DropDeadGaming, they have Brandy Fan in the bot lane, Troy in the mid lane, and Evil Lobster in the jungle, who are returning players from the previous team of DropDeadGaming, who was so formidable, Golden Gad, in that Immortal League. They went 14-0 in game score in the regular season, and they waltzed basically through the playoffs with just one best of 5 where they ended up dropping any games in the semifinals. So hopefully going to see some big things from that team, and for Omega Akuma, a big challenge to start their season, as we already see bans rolling through with some very strong picks in the meta like the Skarner and that Mbessa.
Yeah, and some good callouts too. We got Viego and Talia. Particularly, Kerrigan has played a lot of Talia in solo queue as well in the past, and then Viego pretty much is the entire match history of Evil Lobster, so no surprise there. It's going to be Varus first pick, which has really been picking up in the meta a lot. You know, it applies the pressure in the lane and also neutralizes a pretty important champion, which is Kalista, pretty well, just because it does prioritize get you priority in that bot lane. And then Jace going to be the lock-in here for Never Outmatched. So a quick early pickup here, but this champion has really picked up due to the build variety. Now you can play this tank in this season. It's very wonky if you haven't seen it before, but really can stand up to the best of the top lane. And then Jhin gonna round it out. This is the theme of the season. Supportive mids, very strong top side to round it out. So you're seeing that in full effect here. Cassante, a little bit more of a lane neutralizer, but does afford Jace a bit of flexibility in what he actually ends up going.
We're seeing still in at least the professional play, which I'm drawing comparisons to because that's what we've seen so much of thus far in 2025, lane swaps still be very prevalent. Now, it's not very common in Titan that we do see those, although with Cassante being locked in for Omega Akuma, could potentially see that end up being happening since Cassante does do very well into those lane swaps. So we'll see if any of these teams have been practicing that. The Ryze lock-in here, I assume that's going to go into that Aurora matchup that Kerrigan has locked in. Troy going to be piloting that one. That's an interesting pick. You mentioned the Jace as well with all the varying builds. Jhin as well can kind of follow up from that long-range Shock Blast, Deadly Flourish, Curtain Call, maybe a style of poke comp that DropDeadGaming are looking for here, as they're actually going to take away the Bard and the bans, which I think both supports very much like to play in Fails and Mr. Kiwiism.
Yeah, I really want to highlight this mid lane matchup. It's very interesting. Aurora and Ryze kind of play at that similar range, where usually you'd expect someone to try and counterpick with more of a longer range option into Aurora to kind of neutralize her that way. But seeing this more kind of dually style with the Ryze is pretty interesting, and you do get to kind of outroam the Aurora with the wave clear as well, kind of matching up when that was really her greatest strength now that her ultimate has been tuned down just a little bit. Obviously, that ability is still insane, but it's not nearly as crazy as it was before. But we're going to see another engage option here for that Jace, that Jarvan there, and then the Thresh actually is going to be a little bit of a counter in that way. So I actually like the neutralization of the Thresh to actually prevent some of those engages, because that Varus obviously is going to be a big target coming into the middle of these fights, and you know, it's pretty easy for the Jarvan Cataclysm to come through, but Nocturne is pretty interesting. I know some people that are very big haters of this champion without some of its crucial pairings, so seeing it's pretty interesting, but we're actually going to see a Zilean support kind of out of nowhere. I've been seeing a build floating around where you just stack a ton of cooldown reduction, and you pretty much have your cooldowns 24/7 coming into this new season. So I'm pretty interested to see how they actually end up playing this bot lane, because I haven't really seen Zilean in a team environment since the days of Bjergsen in the mid lane, but this is going straight to support.
It is, and the other thing that's really nice about the Zilean, on top of the fact that there is that Kindle Gem spamming build with all that ability haste, you can use the Chrono Shift to keep your carries alive, who are going to be dove by Nocturne with the Paranoia, Aurora with Between Worlds as well. This is the draft that Omega Akuma have got for themselves. They're going to be looking to access that backline. We're seeing action right off the bat here, Golden Gad, as VD is forced to flash already. That one's going to be off of the Nocturne there, so could be something that DropDeadGaming look to exploit here already 45 seconds in.
Yeah, I mean, having Nocturne have no flash, obviously not the most impactful thing, but does leave Nocturne open for getting invaded. I mean, it is a Jarvan, not exactly the strongest thing, but also your gank power is a lot weaker. One big thing about Nocturne is, yes, you probably just want to farm out, but if you do want to get a kill, you always just tether and flash to follow, and sometimes you could just secure a free, easy kill, but that's just off the board now immediately. Obviously, we have to talk about Feats of Strength, one of the new additions to the season. It did get tuned down now. There's 3 options for the most part. There's the now 3 kills, or you can get first turret, or you can get 3 objectives. And when it comes to grubs, you need all 3 of those grubs to count as one objective. So, definitely something you'll see get played for here to actually secure just free stats. You don't really see the boot upgrades as often. Or at least as early as people initially tried building them, just because it seemed to be a bit more of a detriment on delaying your build too much. But the free stats will definitely always propel the win rate just a little bit higher.
Absolutely. And I feel like you always want your core before you end up upgrading to those boots, because if you're delaying your core items on whatever champion you are playing, whether it's a 2-item core, a 3-item core, once you buy it afterwards, then they actually are very strong. But wasting all that gold and delaying your key items, definitely not the strategy that you want to go for. We were talking about how strong these teams were. As you can see, the ProComp's draft score, DropDeadGaming with that advantage there, 10% over Omega Akuma. I was talking to the coach of DropDeadGaming, asking, with the roster changes that you had, how confident are you that you guys can replicate the success that DropDeadGaming had in the previous fall split? And they said to me, well, we have a couple changes, and it's going to take some time to get used to, but they've been playing very solid, and they're very confident that they're going to be able to repeat that success, and they're doing it right here on the Rift, Golden Gad, because Evil Lobster in combination with Troy find first blood in the middle.
Yeah, that's the Jarvan classic. You got to expect Jarvan to be somewhere on that map right as soon as those first 3 camps get cleared. I mean, even sometimes level 2 as well, but actually in the top lane,
oh my goodness.
Just going to get a nice flash kill there, and at least Jace has TP here, but that's actually pretty rough for Tempo since the wave's actually pushing the opposite way for now. So actually great play there from MM on the top side. As I'm actually pretty curious how Kerrigan actually went down there. Did have the flash, but probably just didn't expect the Jarvan to come out so quickly with the double flash in mid.
When you're not anticipating something to happen, it does really hurt that reaction time. Or maybe you just thought that follow flash would come through and didn't want to use the flash and wanted to save it so that you wouldn't get targeted later on. But we're seeing a lot of action, and we're going to see some more as there's the flash play from Fails, connects with the death sentence as well. Both junglers are here to join the party, both level 4. Fails is being engaged on, gets knocked up with the flag, and Drag is getting very low, but the Deadly Flourish has been blocked. Now VD going to continue the play. Evil Lobster's going to drop low, and Keyboard is going to be the one to grab that kill. Now the Jhin will be next. 2 kills to Omega Akuma. They're looking for 3. Kiwi isn't forced to flash away, but the piercing arrow is going to knock him down for 2 kills on Keyboarder, and a fantastic start for Omega Akuma.
Yeah, great division there to make sure that Zilean can't get a double bomb to actually prevent any of that damage to come through, and Nocturne's just more useful in these duels at this point in the game, and with Jarvan having no flash, just cannot extend the play anymore, and nice extension on that fight to just be able to secure a bunch of kills and that first feat of strength here for Akuma.
And what I was going to say before the bot lane play broke out is we're going to see even more stuff happen. Fortunately able to get on away with the Pathmaker to dodge away from the flag and drag. But we talked about different Otacons, right, Golden Gad? And we said, well, it's probably just going to end up being that Voracious Otacon. But with all this action, we could actually end up seeing a Ruinous with everything that's going on.
Yeah, they go for an early commit here, and it looks pretty bad for the Jhin, but, Jhin just does less in the extended fights. I thought maybe the Zilean would be able to turn the tides, but a huge block here on the W there by VD is actually able to secure this final kill on the Jarvan, and then, just a nice late extended play here with those runes stacking up for both the Varus and the Nocturne, just able to find them. So, yeah, that was just a great response there in the bot side, and a great look from Fails.
The Zilean as well does struggle in these early fights. Thresh is going to be, if the Thresh hits the spells, which Fails most certainly did, infinitely more useful than the Zilean, who really does get the full effectiveness of their kit once they hit level 6 and they can get Chrono Shift. Otherwise, you're really just relying on those double bombs, and we didn't see that success there for DropDeadGaming down in the bot side. So I expect to see them continue to play towards Keyboarder, who is now 2-0 on this Varus. And let's see if they can really blow this game wide open and take the game to DropDeadGaming and continue this lead. Or if DropDeadGaming can actually stabilize a little bit and let themselves get to the points where they are strong, especially around that level 6 auxiliary.
Great hook there. Just going to poke out a little bit, but Varus is one of those champions where if you leave your AD carries alive, can actually solo the matchup very effectively if he does find himself with a lead here. So I'd be pretty scared here for Branny fan going later into the game, just because, that's something that could definitely matter now that, you know, grubs are so important with the feats of strength, especially on the table. So I'd say, you know, that's definitely something to consider. Obviously, Zillion can roam pretty quickly with the help of that speed up, but still pretty good. Evil Lobster just sneaking this drag away despite the disadvantage in the bot side. So actually great awareness there to just pick it up. But they are trading on the top side, so it's not going to be completely unanswered. But at least grabbing that early on is going to prevent some of that tempo as they gank mid or top.
It's never outmatched, who is overextended. The fear is going to come down. MM trying to follow it up as well, getting very low, does not have the flash. There's the all-out, and MM's going to pick that kill up. First one for the Cassante, now 5-1, but the dive on the other side of the map is going to come through as well. Troy has joined the party in the shutdown over to Brandy Fan as Evil Lobster 1 HP flashes away from the death sentence. Fails is going to be the next target, drops the ignite onto the Jarvan, will knock him down, but 2 go back over to DDG cross map, and we are seeing action all across the Rift.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about. Rise able to actually get the shove immediately, but still going to lose the waves here to the mid lane and going to lose a plate as well. So it's not exactly a free play for DDG, but at least getting some of that gold back into their pocket. And this is kind of what I meant. You know, Rise able to kind of push out and roam quickly, but you know, Aurora can also push shove in just as well to actually neutralize the play just a little bit.
And a lot of these champions, they are doing so well in these very mobile games where people are moving all around the map. You have Realm Warp, you have Paranoia, Flag and Drag makes Jarvan very mobile, speed boosts from Zillion, the catch potential of Thresh. And that's really been reflected here. 8 minutes into the game, we are at the point, Golden Gad, where we are over 1 kill a minute. Sometimes you see at the start of a season, the nerves are building up in some of these players. Our first match of the season, we can't mess up. If you're DDG and Omega Akuma, we have a reputation as organizations to uphold from our performances in previous splits. So you would think maybe they might play more reserve, but that's just not the case. They are firing on all cylinders, and we have ourselves a fantastic game here thus far as the invade from Evil Lobster is going to go down onto VD. Troy is first here from the mid lane. There goes the Cataclysm, going to force the flash off the Nocturne. He's going to get his way out of there, but never outmatched is here behind the turret, attacking the Cassante, who does not have flash. It was just about to come off a cooldown, but that's one back there for DropDeadGaming in the top side.
Yeah, the tempo of DDG just feels like it's slightly ahead just right now, just based off the roams that I'm seeing. And also, Evil Lobster is just doing a great job of finding this Nocturne and extracting that flash cooldown pretty much now twice in a row. And, you know, Troy actually able to roam out as well. So I definitely like this Rise. You don't see it as often. I think it got played once in LPL this season already. But definitely something you don't see too much. But definitely has been picking up play. So, you know, any specialists will definitely appreciate that. But yeah, they're neutralizing this game pretty well. 6-4 currently in kills, only about 400 gold lead for Omega Akuma after a great start on the early game in the bot side.
And some of the best Rise players that we've seen really do make plays around the map and utilize the ability to help out the team with this pickup. And that's exactly what we're seeing Troy do here. Active in all of these plays, the dive in bot lane, the invade in the jungle as well. And we're starting to see some of that synergy that's been built up from these DDG members because they are returning players. As we're going to see a flash burn by Never Outmatched away from MM in the top side. But Evil Lobster and Troy have been doing a fantastic job together thus far in the game.
Yeah, already picking up that Roa is so influential here. As Evil Lobster on the bot side, they're threatening to make sure that they don't establish a great push here for the keyboarder. And yeah, I mean, I think Never Outmatched had to flash there. Definitely could have got pulled over, but Paranoia.
Here comes the combo of Paranoia plus Between Worlds. Troy really with nowhere to go. He's fast, but not fast enough. BD picks up that shutdown flag and drag from Evil Lobster to escape. Was trying to save his mid laner, but just wasn't there in time. And now, Golden Gad, we see the power of the Nocturne Aurora, and they are not done yet as they continue this invade. But now they're going to be met with 2 more people from the side of DropDeadGaming. That is Mr. Kiwiism. That is Never Outmatched. The Cataclysm goes down, and the Chrono Shift will keep Evil Lobster alive. There's the Zillion value that we were looking for. One back for DropDeadGaming.
Yeah, just a little bit overextension. I will say, you know, you lose that Between Worlds and the Paranoia, and a lot of your team fight pressure is gone. Just Aurora not able to pump out the damage as effectively. Now, Mr. Kiwiism just being annoying, trying to stop MM from resetting to be able to match this kind of cross map here for the Jace, as they are swapping lanes fully here, top bot, kind of reversal. So I expect a lot of action coming up on these grubs in just a little bit.
Trying to make sure that Omega Akuma do not reach 6 grubs especially if they can start to pull ahead. Now, the game has evened out, especially in the gold department, as we do get a pause, which is going to stifle the action objectively for the moment. 6 grubs would mean the world for Omega Akuma to be able to knock down these towers, make plays in the side lane where DropDeadGaming are so vulnerable because of those key ultimates that they have, and then start knocking down those towers once they find those picks. So we see that swap up. Like you mentioned, their Golden Gad grubs going to be heavily contested. I expect to see the game blown wide open here at the 11.5-minute mark.
Yeah, I will point out one thing. Aurora does not have that ultimate for this objective, so that's going to be a big valley in power here, as now they're going to kind of corral towards this bot side where the Aurora is. It's going to be a full 4-on-4 fight here. Jace actually joining much earlier, and Cassante can't really... I'm not sure if this is just spectator lay. Seems like it is, so we're just going to continue in, and the grubs are getting dangerously low. It's going to actually reset one of them, but... Smite is up.
It's going to be a Smite fight. It looks like it went over to BD, so that is 4 secured, and it doesn't look like DropDeadGaming is too happy about that. They're using the Realm Warp, and all of them are going on through. Mr. Kiwiism is going to get so dangerously low. The flash away will not bring him to safety. That is going to be one down, but Troy finds the response kill onto Fails. Now they're looking to make the play onto the Rise here, and they're going to be successful in doing so. Keyboarder, untouched in the backside, does enough damage for the double kill. And here comes the curtain call, but there's nothing really to hit. No low targets. It's just a full HP Kerrigan, and is just going to use it to clear out the wave, and river control now goes over to Omega Akuma.
Yeah, so well by Keyboarder. The positioning was just great, able to actually just free hit while they pummeled Fails throughout that fight, and yeah, the long play actually ends up in their favor. They don't get that second feet kind of mark in that one because they did lose one of those grubs, but now Keyboarder kind of in a dangerous position, but Fails is in the area.
I'm pretty sure Keyboarder has Flash, and I don't see a tick mark there. That means it's on cooldown, but maybe not. Stuck inside of the Cataclysm, using the barrier to keep himself alive for the moment. There is the Lantern to bring him to safety. Now uses the Flash to get over the wall. Evil Lobster will follow it up. Flag and Drag will connect, and he will find that shutdown, but the Death Sentence connects. Fails, trying to keep him in that tower range, but there's the Between World from Kerrigan to secure that kill on the other side of the map. It's DD trying to secure this. Drake gets the smite down. Never outmatched, wants that 1 versus 1. So much burst damage from the Jace, but the movement speed that BD is able to get is going to be enough to run away from that situation and plays off the other sides of the map for both teams.
Yeah, one thing I'll note is during that Grubs fight, Cassante got a lot of damage on that bot side, actually taking the turret down to 1 plate, so that could definitely be that secured boots if, you know, DDG indexes into a different side of the map. Could be problematic in that way. I will say we are getting Hextech Soul here, but let's get a replay on this Grub fights and see how it actually went down. So yeah, they're zoning towards the Aurora since they know no Between Worlds here, and it's actually going to reset here. I think this is such a crucial smite here, where since it goes the way of Akuma, they actually want to just go for the fight here to maybe find something, but without the ultimate for the Zillion, they just don't have enough survival to actually pull it off. But yeah, Keyboarder just uncontested in this backside of the fight, and Paranoia comes down, and Aurora just cleans up here onto Troy. So yeah, just a great awareness and positioning there.
If you're going to jump in with that Cataclysm, if you're Evil Lobster, you need to make sure that Keyboarder is under threat. Otherwise, the damage potential there is insane. Just like you were mentioning, they go on to him here. This is what you want every single time, but I love the patience from Keyboarder, able to understand that the Lantern can bring them out of that Cataclysm, and then they can save the flash to get over the wall. Now, it does force Evil Lobster to use a flash of their own. They get the kill anyways, but he overextends so that Kerrigan can pick it up later on. So I love the patience from Keyboarder in that play, making some big things happen, getting a little bit of extra gold into Akuma's pocket as the non-stop trading in the top lane continues. It's a Black Cleaver rush for Never Outmatched. We talked about the different Jace builds. This is more of the tank shredding, ability haste focused one rather than the lethality and the tank builds.
Yeah, so I think it's going to do great in a side lane, maybe a little bit less effective than some of the other builds in flanking situation, but we have Paranoia towards the bot side.
Troy's in trouble here, going to try and get the Realm Warp out, but there's the Fear, so that's not going to take you to safety, but the Flash and the Phase Rush proc will. That is a very fast man with a rune book, and Evil Lobster is here to make sure nothing else happens. Troy narrowly escapes, and there's the power Golden God of the side lane threat of this Akuma draft.
Yeah, still able to narrowly escape, but that is that flash traded for the Paranoia. And right now, I mean, with the Ionian boots in the pocket, it's not going to be that long of a cooldown. Brownie fan has to be very careful. Fails, not going to land the hook, so just going to be a mute play, but still very dangerous. Obviously, no big objectives up right now, but definitely losing your
That's
life.
going all out, looking for the kill onto Never Outmatched. Wow, that damage is insane. This Cassante champion is quite strong, forces the flash. That was crazy. I feel like that shot there did so much damage, about half the health of Never Outmatched, and the pressure continues in the mid lane from Omega Akuma, and they have really been applying the pressure here, Golden God. We had questions about when they got a couple kills, could they make it worthwhile? Well, they may have gone too over-aggressive, as now Keyboard is in trouble. Remember, no flash from the previous play, and Troy is going to pick up that kill. Good counterpunch here from DropDeadGaming. They at least get one, potentially looking for more. Evil Lobster jumps in with the Cataclysm. There's not a lot of follow-up, though, and has to be very careful, but there's the Chrono Shift to bail him out. It's perfect. Mr. Kiwiism is great on this Zillion, and that's going to net them the mid tower here as the trade in the top side happens as well.
Yeah, the first turret still goes the way of the Cassante, so they actually, you know, still get something on that play no matter what. It seems like Akuma is at least matching on the side, since Cassante really hasn't joined any of these fights, just exerting the dominance whenever that all-out is available has really put him a step ahead. And yeah, I think as far as items are concerned, everyone pretty much hitting a lot of their 2-item spikes at this point. Obviously, Jace now finishing that Muramana, and Cassante sitting on the Frost Gauntlet, Iceborne Gauntlet. They've changed its name too many times. But yeah, I think it's a pretty interesting position right now, considering Drag is up in 45, and you know, Rift Herald's actually on the table. And Rift Herald's something I think is actually higher priority now that Otacon does spawn at 20 minutes and can really net a great trade of objectives. You can pretty much play for the side lane while the Otacon goes down. Depending on which Otacon it is, that could be really worth it for you if you're able to pick up a couple tier 2 turrets for it. So definitely some options in your play here.
Mega Akuma have priority of that river. Again, great control from MM in the top side is going to unlock that river control for them. They have very limited access to this river from that top side as DropDeadGaming, and MM's had priority of that top side for the majority. Is down in CS, but has that kill advantage. These two really have been going toe-to-toe. But that Rift Herald's been taken, like you talked about, Golden God, and we are less than 2 minutes out from Otacon spawning on the Rift. As Fails may be caught out here in the mid lane, they are summoning up the Herald. Is Akuma. That death sentence went the wrong way, but hey, you can just take the Herald and get yourself on out of there. May as well take down the turret while you're at it, as the team fight is going to break out now as Troy's in the front line, but running out with that Ghost to try and escape. Evil Lobster caught up inside of their own Cataclysm. Chrono Shift will keep them alive as Falls is so close to dropping here. 1 HP. Keyboarder is able to take down Evil Lobster. This curtain call doesn't do a whole lot. Mexican mid is doing so well on this. Cassante finds the Q3 onto 2. Now the Paranoia jumps in, but that's a good double bomb there to provide some peel from Mr. Kiwi. And forward goes MM, but there's nothing else for Omega Akuma. But nonetheless, they knock down the turret. They win the fight, and Drake is next on the menu.
Yeah, just such great awareness on that fight to make sure that they're able to actually kite it out and play it real slow. I mean, I think it was a bit of an overextension there from Evil Lobster, thinking that they could potentially get the damage with the Jhin ult, but without Jace, I feel like they lose a lot of the big damage threat you'd expect onto some of these squishier members, so definitely maybe a little bit discombobulated in that way, but here we get a replay of it. So Fails immediately takes a bunch of damage, but walking forward here is just so dangerous. This is a great Rift Herald usage to be able to survive. Basically a pseudo stasis, and now puts you in a weird position in this fight, since Troy kind of has to make sure he does not get CC'd here, but takes a big chunk there from Kerrigan nonetheless. At the very least, this Chrono Shift does come through to actually prevent some of the damage, and does force Kerrigan to flash forward to ensure that kills comes through, but Mexican mid just goes straight in and just takes down the Jace immediately, so a lot of that threat that could potentially be there just goes down, and they go for the extended play and aren't able to kill.
The Chrono Shift has been used by Mr. Kiwi and is now dead right before, well, actually, I was about to say right before the Baron, but hey, this is Season 15. Things are a little bit different here. The Otacon is the buff that is alive here.
Still voracious.
Still voracious, that's right. You see the red cloak, that means it's voracious. If it was black, that would be ruinous. And it's going to be started up immediately here by Omega Akuma. Still 4 alive, though. They just don't have that extra life. Now, Evil Lobster is in the area. We'll see if he ends up trying to contest this, or if they are just going to concede this over.
Yeah, Paranoia comes through.
Oh, they're just jumping. They're just looking for the fight. This is smart. They force the flash off of Brandy Fan. Between Worlds used as well, but Troy is going to be the next target. Does have flash, does have the ghost popped as well, so should be able to run this one out. Does a ton of damage to Mexican mid inside of that all-out form. Here comes the curtain call as well. One more bullet will do the trick. No flash from that earlier play. MM has gone too far forward this time. Evil Lobster, where in the world are you going? He's over in Narnia, so it ends up being a trade. I guess distracting people from joining the play from the side of Omega Akuma, but things are very hectic here in the jungle. And Kerrigan did not expect to find so many members of DropDeadGaming right here in their own jungle. Mr. Kiwi forced to flash away as well. That's going to be a rune prison that connects, plus that double bomb. This Thresh cannot move, and now Never Outmatches joining the party. Look at this Jace go, frontlining for the squad. Troy is going to take down one. Keyboarder is shut down. The shock blast, deadly flourish. Brandy Fan gets that one, and it is DropDeadGaming that flipped this game right on its head.
Just great team fighting there. They sense that, hey, they're a little bit discombobulated after that initial fight, and they actually just chase it out. Troy finds a great angle on to Kerrigan to start it off, and with no cooldowns from the beginning of that play, they just didn't have the team fight damage. And you shouted out the Jin Jace. Never Outmatch has to be a bit careful, but this damage is dodgeable, not too big of a deal. But yeah, you talked about that long range combo with the Jace and the Jin, but really it was all about that double bomb into the Jace slam on the Q. So I think they just played that extremely well, and a kind of interesting overextension for Mexican mid, but definitely expected to get the kill there on Troy before anything happened.
It did feel like that's what started the avalanche, was Mexican mid going too far forward, and then now the front line is all gone. And once the big cooldowns are utilized as well from Omega Akuma, they don't have a lot of gas in the tank to go toe-to-toe with a lot of the DPS champs like Troy, and as well Never Outmatched with a full tank of gas, full HP, all the cooldowns ready to go, ready to continue that play. So a big, crucial mistake from Omega Akuma, and now is the time for DropDeadGaming to blow this game wide open. We are going to see how good this team is with Voracious Otacon, how much they have been practicing, because this buff and the way that you use it is a make or break. It can either be completely useless and keep the game state even, or you can utilize it to its maximum potential and really seal the win for yourself.
Yeah, it looks like they're just trying to pull them apart. That's their main strategy here. Use the Jace split push threat to actually be able to force out some members and maybe look for a dive on the bot side, if I had to guess. Now, Mexican mid on that top side does have the all-out, so may just look for the fight here on Never Outmatched, but spacing well. Able to knock away. But look, they are pressuring towards the spot side. They want to find something in this 150 seconds.
DD is in the middle of nowhere. He's got no one here. How did this happen for the side of Omega Akuma? I'm not really sure, but the Paranoia is going to be utilized onto Evil Lobster. He goes, but great double bomb there from Mr. Kiwi is going to knock down that Nocturne into the Cataclysm. Goes, fails, no flash available. Maybe another double bomb. They don't even need it. There's the curtain call, and that will be the kill from Mr. Kiwi onto that Thresh. Remember, they're diving this tower, but it really doesn't matter if they drop because they have those Voracious Otacon withdraws. Chrono Shift just to save it on to try. I mean, you may as well. It's a pretty low cooldown. DropDeadGaming in the bot side finds some kills.
Yeah, and in the meanwhile, Jace actually finds the turret on the top side as well. Mexican mid wants to trade out this kill to at least get the 200 gold back from the withdrawal, but just going to be prevented. So still a great net positive play there for DDG as they accelerate and now find themselves up 3.5k gold above Omega Akuma. And now also going to neutralize that soul point that they potentially could have played for had that objective gone their way. So really everything blowing up off of that Otacon fight, which is just pretty unfortunate because I felt like they had a great tempo and great just play in the beginning of the game. But yeah, DDG finds the fight and really snowballs well.
One of the strong qualities, or very prevalent qualities of good teams, is the ability to stay in a game where you fall behind, and also to be able to finish games quickly once you start to pull ahead. We've seen the best of both worlds from this DropDeadGaming roster in this game number one of this best of three. They were falling behind, a couple things weren't going their way, able to bring it back. Now they have the lead, now they are really pressing their advantage. So the script is now flipped. Let's see what Omega Akuma can do from this position. And it really just has to come down to, I think, Golden Gad, their pick potential. Try and find some of these members of DropDeadGaming alone so that you can quickly engage onto them, maybe get a shutdown and start to snowball your lead or get yourself back in this game. But it's not looking too good right now. Kerrigan drops on the other side of the map. We did see a kill go over to Keyboarder, and we're going to see a whole play start out. Realm Warp, though, is going to bring Kiwi and Troy to safety. I think that'll be it for this cross-map play.
And now you're seeing evidence of why this Ryze was picked. The late game damage that the Ryze provides just outmatches Aurora 100-1. I mean, the cooldowns are just too long for the champion compared to what Ryze can actually pump out. So nice chase there, also utilizing the Ghost very well there. VD has to burn the spell shield to make sure they stay alive, but now the mid wave is cut and they're able to actually get priority here for this Baron to potentially just choke out all that vision that Omega Akuma previously had.
And if you have no vision, if you're Omega Akuma, that makes it that much harder to find the engages that you want. Nocturne cannot engage from afar. Aurora can't follow it up. They have to walk in blind, and that is something that DropDeadGaming are going to want all day long as we see this 1 versus 1 about to turn into a 3 versus 1. I'm sorry, man. It is never outmatched who's brought friends, and those friends are going to be able to take you down. It looks like it's going to be the attempted Baron on the cross map here, but Evil Lobster is in the area with Smite up and ready.
Yeah, Jarvan, one of those champions that gets free vision, but it's getting pretty dangerously low. 5k on it. Can he get the steal?
They're going to flip it. They're just going to try for it. Can VD find the spike? He cannot. An excellent steal from Evil Lobster. Cataclysm to lock in 3 and flashes out. That was gorgeous. This is DropDeadGaming League of Legends, my friends. If you missed it in fall, you're getting it right here in winter in their very first game. They dismantle Omega Akuma. Kerrigan the last to fall. Are they really, is this BM or are they trying to delay the timers?
BM. That is just BM,
oh my goodness.
Purely. I mean, when you're doing the gritty on them, I mean, it's that just says the game's over. I'm sorry, but I will shout out one thing in the side lane is actually that Unending Despair on Jace, actually doing great work to actually sustain out the Xante damage. But yeah, just no pressure there, and the waves baroned up. It's just so hard to kill. Fails trying to do all he can, but it's not going to be enough. Game 1 goes to DDG,
and that was such a gamble on that play. If you were Akuma or Omega Akuma, it did not pay off in their favor. But I feel like even if they got that Baron, that fight was just going to go the same way for DropDeadGaming. So the macro game from DDG's side was so impressive as well. A pretty rough start for them, but in the end, it's what felt like an emphatic victory to me, Golden God. And what a great way to start off their season, though. They still have a little bit more work to do looking ahead to that game number 2 in this Fearless draft.
Yeah, not exactly the cleanest early game. Definitely some kind of cracks they can seal up, but you saw how good they were when they were in the driver's seat. You know, they knew how to accelerate their tempo. They played side lanes beautifully, and you know, one thing we didn't really talk about is they just established CS leads across the board and really gained a lot of gold out of that. And then once you put the Otacon on top of that, it just became an unsurmountable advantage here against Omega Akuma. So I'd say DropDeadGaming looking great. Obviously, they won't be able to have these exact 5 champions going into the next one, so they're going to have to switch up their play just a little bit, but expect similar things, you know, that supportive AD carry and a strong top side. I always prefer right now in the meta to have a more carry-orientated top, something that actually, you know, does damage in team fights. Yes, Xante extremely good as a frontliner, but you saw the multi-damage threats are always super influential, I feel like, in these fights in season 2025. So, I mean, definitely something to watch out for, and I expect that Never Outmatched has a couple more in his pocket.
Absolutely. Well, that is going to do it for game number 1. This is a best of 3. So can Omega Akuma battle back after taking that loss, even when they thought maybe towards the start of the game, they may be on their way to a game 1 victory? Didn't end up being the case, but we're going to see if they can bring it back. Bring us to a game 3 to start off our season here for the winter split of Titan Immortal. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be back with game number 2 very, very soon. Welcome back to the Titan Immortal League in our very first week of Titan Esports Winter 2025. We're headed straight into the draft here between DropDeadGaming and Omega Akuma pairing knives. Our grand finals rematch of fall continues. We've got our fearless bands on the bottom. No duplicate champions can be played in this game. Number 2, DVG, of course, with that 1-0 series lead. We're going to see what new strategies these teams have for us, Golden Gat, as we've also got ourselves a side swap for this one.
Yeah, side swap, but exactly the same bands as before, I'd imagine. You know, you've done your prep. There's no reason to change it now. The Fearless, unless you really are scared of some fringe pick or you have a little bit of a different strategy on blue versus red. For instance, I don't think Nidalee was banned last time, but that is definitely a champion that has propped up a little bit more lately. And I did take a peek at Viet's match history, and it is a ton of that champion, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
To actually ban that out as a red side, since I imagine you'll pick probably your supportive AD carry as first, or maybe one of those dominant top laners. Obviously, Ambessa is actually left open, but it's going to be an Azir, which is something that I thought would show up just because it's fearless, and it actually will be that first pick here.
It's reliable, it's got range, it's got a good lane phase, it's got late game. Azir is the competitive mid. The response is going to be Hui. So it looks like Omega Akuma want to match the range or even one up the range of the Azir in that lane. And also the Hui is very flexible, could also be a bot lane pick later on if they do want to change things up. But for now, we'll assume that is headed into that Azir. And we're going to see a Xin Zhao. I would say pretty early for a Xin Zhao because we don't know if there's going to be a lot of range for Xin Zhao to negate with that Crescent Guard. The response is going to be that Volley Bear.
Yeah, I expect this Volley Bear to probably go in the top lane. Haven't really seen it as much in the jungle, and I feel like it doesn't do that great into Xin Zhao in particular, but it's still definitely a flex that you could actually leverage as well. Ashe going to be locked in here, one of those supportive AD carries, still does pump out some damage as well. But Xin Zhao is actually a great champion right now, definitely one of the best dueling junglers currently in the meta, so a pretty good early pick up here. I'm pretty surprised to see Caitlyn. I did see it earlier this week, but definitely not the greatest champion in my opinion right now. Yes, you can establish the lane control early on and maybe really snowball that hard, but you're into an Ashe. That's already not the greatest matchup anyways, and if they pair it with a range support, you could really be sweating for that matchup later on, and Caitlyn really needs to get off the ground running. If you aren't finding these leads early on, you're definitely going to be relegated to a very supportive role where you're basically trap master in that case. So pretty surprising to see it locked in there.
For the same reasons, I'm surprised as well. Now, I wonder what Fails is going to pull out here. A Nico ban, that was probably targeted at the support role. Fails is someone who plays things like the Elise support, which has been taking over a little bit. We did see Caitlyn Elise come through from T1. It's just going to be the Rel, so that kind of crushes my Pyke or Elise dreams there. Or maybe even like a Pantheon support is what I might have been thinking to see there from Fails, going balls to the wall. But they're going to blind pick their support here, save that counter pick for MM in the top side. And it's going to be the tried and true Braum Ashe combination. All the same reasons there. Now they get the Braum into the Rel as well. They have range to counteract the Ashe. I'm loving what I'm seeing from DropDeadGaming.
Yeah, I'm pretty scared for the bot lane here for Omega Akuma. I think it's just not going to work out as well as they would hope. The Braum Ashe is just such a strong lane, but we're seeing Jax, and there's actually a lot of good flexible champions that you could put in the top side. One that I was not expecting is the Tryndamere, but I did see Mexican Mid actually does play this in solo queue as their most played, so pretty cool to see that. That's definitely something you don't see pretty much ever since 2 years ago.
I love that. I mean, talk your stuff right now. This is your best champion, so to speak, right? You play a lot in solo queue, and a lot of people think, and this is going back to my top lane days and my knowledge back to when Tryndamere was very strong and actually being played in pro. A lot of people think Jax counters Tryndamere because of the Counter-Strike, but it actually is very much more of a skill matchup, and I actually prefer the Tryndamere side of this matchup. So part of the reason why MM was probably foaming at the mouth to pick that one up, because you can kite very easily with the spinning slash. They're already looking to try and cheese him here. Probably not going to be able to find much. Is probably going to start that E and get right on out of there. And it is going to be DropDeadGaming getting very aggressive, but very excited to see this pick. That is definitely the pick of this entire draft, Golden God. Of all those 10 champions, we're most excited to see this. As, yeah, DropDeadGaming takes control of this topside jungle early on.
Yeah, something similar happened in the last game where they were able to at least force out the flash from Viet in the last one. So something similar. They're able to get a lot of deep vision. They're going to know exactly what this Xin Zhao's pathing is going to be, which is going to be great, especially if they plan on establishing some push maybe with his Ashe Braum lane. Having good intel here, but it looks like we might be getting a lane swap here as the Jax is going straight towards that bot side, and Rel Caitlyn on the top side now to kind of match it. But they're getting full intel on this, that this is a full swapping of the lanes here, as Evil Lobster just goes and takes that early Raptors on the top side.
So I wonder which of the two teams actually initiated this and wanted this, and which of the two teams was predicting that this would happen. Again, I really like this Tryndamere matchup, so I assume the lane swap was attempted here from the side of DropDeadGaming, but it could be either or. Again, the Pro Comps draft score, 54% in favor of Akuma Omega. And I think it was actually in DropDeadGaming's favor last time. It was the red side both times, unless it was actually these teams on these sides and it was just a little messed up. But nonetheless, the red side has that draft advantage and we are headed into the game. We were talking a little bit about how DropDeadGaming is confident that they can continue this dominance. We saw that in game one. I'll pause what I was about to say because we got a dive coming through here, Golden God. Fails and the keyboarder both still level 1. This is crazy because you wouldn't have got this with the earlier minion HP, but it's going to end up being a 1-for-1. One kill goes to both 80 carries. We got action already here at the 2.5 minute mark.
Yeah, that's actually crazy. You know, this season, one of the big changes that they tried to do was neutralize these third wave ganks by, you know, pushing the cannon wave over to fourth wave, as well as increasing turret damage. But you could see there, it didn't really matter too much. They're still able to find it and put this Caitlyn majorly behind. Wow, fails, barely surviving, and a pause comes through. So pretty interesting stuff there for DDG. And, you know, they get to deny at least a wave and a half on that top side. And Fails is going to have to go for a reset here. So I think it's just going to be more dominance on that top side.
Very close to a second kill going into the hands of Brandyfan. Now, I want to point out that I just saw this now. Ghost was taken by Brandyfan here. I think this is a fantastic pickup because you can utilize this Ghost to create the space between yourself and Caitlyn. Ashe does. Actually, I think Caitlyn slightly outranges Ashe, but Ashe can be a big problem for Caitlyn and for a lot of these melee champions like Viet on the Xin Zhao and MM as well on the Tryndamere, who does have Ghost himself. So I think this Summoner spell pickup was very smart for Brandyfan. Starting off with that first kill, we're going to see how effective this Ashe can be, but we've got a pause right now, so we're going to see what's going on with that, and we'll wait it out here. But it gives us a little bit more time to talk about the game here up, or we're just going to head straight back in. You know, we love that. The pauses have been pretty short today, so I think we're pretty happy to see that.
Yeah, that's definitely good. They might be able to cancel backs here. Failed, actually, dangerous position. Maybe might go down.
Close.
Okay, spectator pause. The suspense.
I don't think Fails is going in here. I think Fails is going to keep themselves up, but they will get a shield on the crash down. Top Cat. Oh, we have game quotes. This is something new to Titan. So congrats to our very round of applause to our people behind the scenes. That's funny stuff. Top Cat.
Top
in
Cat.
The chat. That's Troy.
Chris Sunga in there.
That's hype. As we're seeing a fight here, Kiwi is going to drop. Keyboarder grabs that kill. That's 2 now to the Caitlyn. This topside lane swap has been very, very bloody 3.5 minutes in.
Yeah, they're going to try and prevent Brandyfan from catching this wave, but Evil Lobster is lurking in that bush there, and it's going to force them off the wave, so at least Brandyfan's going to be able to catch this wave going into the next one. Obviously, Keyboarder had a reset of sorts, so has a lot more resources in the tank compared to this Ashe, who still hasn't gone for one of those just yet.
Let's see what they can do with this now. And how will these lane swaps actually affect what goes on? Are we going to get these lane assignments all the way up to the grubs and see 4 people, except the top laners from both teams, contest these grubs, or are they just going to go one way? Is someone going to give that over? I do point out that for at least a little while in this early stages of the game, Kerrigan has had that priority in the mid lane. Now, right now, it's at an even state, but Evil Lobster could be in trouble if it is Kerrigan that decides to move over here, it's going to be spotted out. Let's see what Evil Lobster does. No flash is available. He actually just wants to duel here. Kerrigan not going to be able to help out Viet. Just going to walk his one out of there. Pops that Scrow's boom and heads home, but Fails is here in the mid lane. Troy in a little bit of trouble. Does still have flash. There is going to be the shot from Kerrigan. Going to drop him down pretty low. Evil Lobster wants to continue this play. We're having things ramp up here as now Viet is going to join the party. Excellent CC is going to come down from Kerrigan, and that will be the first feat of warfare for Omega Akuma. They got the first 3 kills. They're jumping onto Troy as well. The Severing Bolt will not finish the job. Neither will the Wind Becomes Lightning. But Omega Akuma, they are not backing down here in game 2.
Yeah, the pressure from the Rel just a little bit better than the Braum at this point. Now Troy also getting the back canceled, so gonna get zoned off this wave by Fails. Fails has to be kind of careful though. There's a chance Kiwi can actually snipe with a Q there to maybe get a kill, but at least is gonna escort Troy to catch a little bit of this XP after that canceled back here, as Kerrigan's just gonna try and clear up this wave with the help of that mana regen. And you could see that a nice vision line is getting established by Omega Akuma Blades. Well, pairing knives in this case. At least now they get that deep vision before the grubs actually end up spawning. And, you know, you can tell Evil Lobster really does not care at all about the bot side. I think only claimed up the Raptors from that one. You know, now it's 6 minutes into the game. So just going to go straight towards that grubs and try and get it on spawn. Obviously you need all 3 to get that stack for the elite monsters. So gonna try and get that now, and Xin is in the area, but maybe just too early to actually be able to contest.
And Fails isn't quite in range as well. Did complete that recall again. Remember, Fails kind of stayed around the mid lane to try and cancel Troy's reset. Well, that means you're going to be late to the grub. So we're seeing the ramifications of that, and DropDeadGaming, despite dropping all those kills, able to pick up that first trio of grubs. So they lost that first feat of strength, trying to work their way towards the objective one. Like you said, they got all 3. They got that first tick in their side. And let's see who's going to be able to pick up that Infernal Drake. Right now, it is Viet on that side of the map. This top lane, or I should say this bot lane, has been pretty quiet. We talked about this matchup. It is a little bit tricky. There's no ignites or anything to make this a very lethal lane, but now they're both level 6. Let's see what MM can do with this Undying Rage, because that's really where we get to see how creative these Tryndamere players can be as Viet is now onto the Drake.
Yeah, has the Tiamat, so has a lot more pushing power than this Jax in the current moment. So just able to shove in this wave and establish a no contest dragon here for Viet, as now Evil Lobster walking, kind of looking towards mid. Obviously the Shuriman Shuffle should be great into the Hui, since it's very hard to actually catch the Azir on the E there as a Hui. So definitely put up some pressure. Kerrigan now walking to this red buff where everyone else is walking. Fails might be able to catch Evil Lobster here.
Gonna find the stun from the Shattering Strike. But we're gonna see a 3 versus 3 breakout. Here comes the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. That's gonna connect onto Fails, who's locked up, but here comes the Spiraling Despair. Evil Lobster's taking a whole lot of damage, but in comes Troy. The Emperor's Divide will miss. Flash over the wall from Brandyfan to finish off Fails here. That will be the first kill of the play. Brandyfan now with the Ghost trying to get themselves away. The Piltover Peacemaker will not connect. Evil Lobster getting low as well. Does have the flash. Here's Troy in the middle of everyone, and Viet is going to be able to knock him up. The Keyboarder gets another kill. Make that number 3 for the Caitlyn in this game. The Severing Bolt as well from Kerrigan downtown. Able to grab the kill onto Brandyfan. Good response here from Akuma. They keep it rolling here in this early game.
Yeah, Viet wants the grub
or the
more as well. Yeah, he wants it all.
They never want to stop. He's got Crescent Guard, but is it going to be enough? It is. The Stormbringer didn't come through in time. He ends up getting 2. Are you serious? That ends up working out for him. Akuma are getting everything and dismantling DDG right now.
Yeah, just didn't have the damage there. You saw the ult actually get committed by Evil Lobster, but it was just too little, too late. The health takes a little bit to actually tick up there on that ultimate, so actually barely squeaks away there. So great plays here from Omega Akuma Blade pairing knives, but you know, this is kind of what we saw in the last game. They came out to an early lead, and then DDG closed the gap with a couple of, you know, kind of risky fights that they did end up winning. So, you know, we need to see, can Omega Akuma actually stabilize this game and move towards these objectives with confidence and actually find them quickly. You know, they don't have the exact lane advantage that they did in the last one, I'd say. I mean, the Tryndamere is still doing great in this one, but they definitely need to convert these fights I think if they want to actually solve it, as Keyboarder's under pressure.
He's under pressure, but he looks like he's okay for now. Brandyfan actually stepped on a trap, and Fails is here to follow this one up. They're getting very low. Keyboarder trying to close the gap. They're trying to get onto Brandyfan, and the concussive blows connect onto Fails, but they remount, gets the Shattering Strike as well, emoting on them as well. Is Mr. Kiwiism going to get out of this? He's not, because there's the ace in the hole. They are really talking their stuff in this game. They are angry after game number 1, Golden God, and they are not done yet, because look at Evil Lobster. He can't even take his own Gromp, for crying out loud. That's Akuma's Gromp. It's theirs. They just took it away from him. Now they're taking away the blue buff as well. Things are a disaster, and they are fired up in game 2.
Yeah, Ferris, they're trying to actually just seal out this game. They want the Caitlyn to get fully online, and I'd say so. I mean, you have a lot of pressure here with that 5-1 Caitlyn, 3-0 Xin Zhao. I said how good this champion is at dueling, and you're really seeing that in full effect. Volibear, more of a stun champion into a lot of just more utility compared to it, but they're going to go for the contest on the Grubs here, and some of the resources that they expended in the last one are definitely going to hurt them for this Grubs contest.
Level
Kerrigan
6
has
on
the
supports
pace.
will be very important, but there is the Crescent Guard, so Brandyfan can't really deal a whole lot of damage here. Now Evil Lobster is going to get evaporated. Keyboarder is dominating. They're able to knock down Mr. Kiwiism as well. DropDeadGaming had no business contesting these Grubs. It was close. Viet got low, but in the end, the fight goes the way of Akuma, and they get their prize in the Grubs, one neutral objective away from securing the Feats of Strength.
Yeah, Kerrigan just with the priority on that roam, I think really made the big difference for them in that fight. So Troy not able to exert just as much pressure as that. And then the Crescent Guard obviously keeping them all alive. And you saw a great look there from the keyboarder to actually walk forward to prevent Browniefan from finding that last kill here. So honestly, the extra engage power and just mobility of the Omega Akuma comp is really paying off in dividends.
What I love is the extra little bit of agency they have in this composition. Last time around, it was Nocturne, it was Aurora. You had to engage on those timings of your ultimate, and you really had to be in sync. This time around, you can kind of do whatever. You got a Tryndamere in the top lane, doing his own thing in the side lane. You have a lot of time to buy yourself with Crescent Guard on the Xin Zhao, and then there's just a lot more autonomy. You don't really need to layer everything down all at once. You can kind of just skirmish it out the way that you like. And that seems to be the style that Akuma very much enjoys in this game. And we were asking ourselves, can they avoid a situation like last game? Well, so far, so good. It's 11-2. It's a 4,000 gold lead at 12 minutes. This is by all means Akuma's game to lose. And around these neutral objectives now, we're going to have to see DDG adjust their game plan. They really can't contest these. They're going to have to look for cross maps.
Yeah, I think it's going to come down to those big objectives later on in the game. Can they mount enough of a comeback? You know, currently they're only down about 3k, so it's not exactly devastating, but can they stay in the game long enough to be able to stall for some of these maybe potentially game-flipping objectives like the Baron or the Otacon as well? You know, they definitely have some great long-range engage with both the Shurima Shuffle or the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, so that could definitely find them some picks before those objectives, and that's kind of what I expect out of this comp to actually be able to come back into this one. They need to find those priority targets, and, you know, I'm famously kind of a Hui hater because this champ can get exploited in the side lane the later on this game goes. So now Kerrigan getting zoned off now, but now Evil Lobster, terrible position, has to ult out to be able to survive, but Viet is already there.
Escape, but now Viet is in a bit of trouble. It does use the Crescent Guard here. That's going to negate a lot of damage. Now everyone is stepping into the melee range of the Xin Zhao, but that just sets it up for Fails to jump right on in. Kerrigan and Keyboarder in the backline are laying down the hurt. And Akuma, again, in this topside river, find the exact same situation. They take the fight win, and they balloon their gold lead further. They continue to slam the door right in DDG's face.
Yeah, the Crescent Guard just buys so much time, and then you see Hui passive proccing. That's so much max HP damage just going off constantly throughout that one. So Kerrigan really giving it to him in that one, and it feels like DDG's kind of desperate now. They want to find something, but Fails is making it difficult with those big engages with the crash down.
This feels like one of those games where you practice this strategy or this composition in scrims, and it goes a certain way, And then when you're playing it for real, it kind of goes awry and it's not really going the way you want. And they kind of look lost as DDG as to what it is that they need to do when they're behind. They just want to keep looking for these plays in the jungle, like you saw Evil Lobster caught out, like they're ahead. And they really aren't ahead right now. They just can't be making these plays. You can really see a massive advantage in the jungle. It's first item plus those boots completed for Viet. And still waiting on that first item is Evil Lobster. Although they do have those pick tools, like you said, Golden Gad, but this one is looking quite dire. If DDG somehow find a way to pull off this victory, I mean, no one's going to beat them, because if you can't win with this lead, then it's going to be very hard to win with any other type of lead, as never outmatched at the very least, able to push back MM in the top side, or the bot side, rather.
Yeah, doing pretty well for themselves, but still 0-0-0, no action on that side. It's just been all towards this Baron pit for the most part. But I will say, this is kind of why I hate Volibear in the jungle. It's just kind of vegan. I know we don't throw that term around very much anymore, but it is one of those supportive junglers that just doesn't have as much priority when it comes to these objectives, but now fails in a dangerous position.
The Glacial Fish is going to cancel him, and Brandy Fan's just going to run him down. So there is something for the side of DDG, but it's just taken right back because Keyboarder does so much damage on this Caitlyn. Evil Lobster's on the flank, but I'm taking this 2v2. Make it a 3 versus 3 now as both mid laners are joining the party. They're trying to jump onto the Caitlyn, but this Volibear is so squishy. Troy's going to try and get involved in the action as well. Is going to be able to knock down Keyboarder and get that shutdown with the Emperor's Divide. But it's Mr. Kiwiism, who is very close to falling. Spiraling Despair will connect onto Troy. Mr. Kiwiism is doing a great job of surviving. Flashes into the brush, is still alive somehow. But the wind becomes lightning from Viet. Will finish it off. Finally, Kerrigan can knock down Troy as well. And the rest of the kills go to Akuma.
Yeah, that was actually crazy close. DDG almost making the outplay with the Braum passive plus the Azir attack speed. Never outmatched. Needs to kill this turret. Fails. Gonna make it difficult. The stun comes through.
It is definitely going to drop here, though, because even MM does have the Undying Rage. Doesn't even look like they're going to need to use it. They're going to call him a chicken and get that chicken above his head. Find the slow and find the first kill in this duel between the two champions, the Tryndamere and the Jax. I want to say top lane, but it's not the top lane because we had that lane swap. And it goes over to Akuma. As now DDG are going to try and start this Herald, but the question is here, Golden God, can they even get this done?
They're so persistent on this top side, but you know Akuma has vision on this side. I feel like this is so scary for them, but they're so desperate to find something to get their foothold in this one. Keyboarder walks up, gets actually hit by that Braum Q.
Enchanted Crystal Arrow, I mean, there's just no follow-up here. They are kind of just throwing out their abilities. They're trying to find the treasure when no pirates have buried any treasure on this island. And they've lost all of their ultimates now, or at least the key ones there in the Enchanted Crystal Arrow to start off the fight. And the siege will just continue for Akuma.
Yeah, the vision, now with no Enchanted Crystal Arrow, it's just so hard to find a play, and they're actually just going to get the turret forced down on them. They're just going to hit it down with the 3 grubs they have in their pocket, and now that's pretty good for them. Mexican mid in the top side against Azir, trying to find the pressure, but Evil Lobster is here.
For it. Oh, he's flashing for it. This is the Tryndamere you'll like to see. Lethal Tempo stacked. Hasn't even had to use the Undying Rage yet. He wins this against Evil Lobster too. you beast. We knew you played the Tryndamere. Now we're seeing it firsthand right there. Double kill, 2 versus 1. The rest of the team's like, oh, he's taking care of him top lane. We can just pick up this Rift Herald. 21-5 at 18 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the domination. Using that Navori's Flicker Blade so well here. Never outmatched. Trying to find something on the side lane to at least equalize, but Kerrigan's in the area.
Oh, no.
I don't know if you're going to... I think he's just trying to die for this.
Never outmatched. Well, you look like you're outmatched in this situation. Let's see what you can do, though. Gets the counter-strike, but there's the fear. Hui can be an annoying champion to play against, and Viet will grab that one. on the other side picks up a turret and says, see you later. I'm out of here. Guys, I don't even know if you want that fight. No Undying Rage, but still, that Tryndamere is scary. Look at this, Golden God. They get towers, they get kills, they get Drakes. Akuma was angry after game 1.
I mean, I'm scared to say that it's almost definitely lights out in my mind. I mean, it's so hard to play this one out. You don't have as good of team fight tools. You needed to establish a lead so you can leverage your single target pick abilities to actually find these fights. But, you know, when you're so far down, and especially with the Xin Zhao, who could just block these long-range engage tools, so well with the Crescent Guard. I think it's just going to be too difficult for them to come back. But, you know, this is what games are made of. I mean, if you're able to find some cheeky objective steals, there's always the possibility. But, I mean, 8K at this point is just so insurmountable.
It feels kind of foolproof for Akuma. They have foolproof champions like Tryndamere, where, you know, no matter how dire it looks, you got 5 seconds of invulnerability. You have a very long-range gap closer or escape on a low cooldown with that Flicker Blade. You have Xin Zhao, who has Crescent Guard and can get himself out of pretty dangerous situations and negate the damage of both Troy and Brandyfan. It feels really hopeless. I mean, that's exactly what you're saying, Golden God, is like, it's going to be nigh impossible for them. But they're going to look to make a play on to MM. And this is what Tryndamere does so well. He kind of absorbs all three. He's going to use Spinning Slash to create some distance. The Glacier Fisher does hit, and he does... This is how you know he's a Tryndamere player. He mistimes the ultimate, or maybe he didn't want to use it knowing he's dead. But if that was a mistimed ultimate, Tryndamere players do that all the time. And the response now going to be the Otacon absorbs so much pressure.
Yeah, they're actually going to TP for this. So DDG now finding the pick on the Tryndamere. They think that this is their window, but Evil Lobster's going to get rooted up, and it's at 4K already on Otacon.
They're going to try and engage. Here comes Never Outmatched. This is 5 versus 4, and somehow it was stolen by Evil Lobster.
Oh,
and
no.
This was the Voracious Otacon. Is this the throw? There's so many shutdowns that went their way. Can you believe this? Do you believe in miracles? DropDeadGaming have a golden opportunity. They've got a couple shutdowns. They are looking for the last one that's remaining. It's Never Outmatched. It's going to take the turret. Keyboarder has nowhere to go. And they will get everything they need. And the gold gap, Golden God, is down to 3,000.
Disaster strikes here for Omega Akuma. They played the game so well, but I talked about these big objectives being the only way back in, and I hate to say it, but really it comes down to that Tryndamere ult. I think if you stall a little bit more, you have such a better chance of being able to actually take that objective, but a great steal from Evil Lobster. They're back in the game just like that.
They certainly are. And it's crazy how things can happen. And this is something, Golden Gad, that couldn't happen in Season 14 because there was no Otacon. It might have been a Baron where this happened, but it's not the same buff. Now we're seeing a very big sense of urgency come through from DropDeadGaming right now. They know that they have the withdraws available, so they're trying to make the most of that. They're trying to find another fight, or even if it goes even, they are very much the ones that are going to pull ahead in that situation. So let's see how they use this, and if this is really the comeback story, or if Akuma are going to lean in to their monitors now.
Yeah, just lock in. Never Outmatched is going to get taken pretty dangerously low here. The lethal tempo is ticking.
I think you should just be fighting this. You're never going to escape from a Tryndamere in that situation. This is why the champion is so formidable. We're going to see what's happening on the other side of the map, though, towards the bot jungle. That's an enchanted crystal arrow that connects, but the Crescent Guard is so good to keep Viet alive. Troy jumps in with the Emperor's Divide, but there's simply no follow-up. Akuma now flex their wallets. They say, you get us once, you're not going to get us again, and all of them from the side of DropDeadGaming withdraw back to their base.
Yeah, you know, there's signs of life from DDG, but still, you know, Akuma is in the driver's seat nonetheless, but definitely did leverage some of it. They were hoping to get more in that play. Now, Viet trying to use that power of the 2-item spike here for the Xin Zhao to kind of take away that red buff, but actually just calls off the play. I was going to point out, you know, Otacon, one of those buffs that's very strong, but there were no neutral objectives up to actually be able to easily translate and maybe bait out a fight on Omega Akuma, so they had to kind of overextend it, and it was just a little bit too much for their own gold currently in their pocket.
He's taking this, Herald?
No, he's out.
Okay, so they're not getting the value that they wanted. I thought maybe it was Viet that was going to engage with that Rift Herald and start things off here, but it's still alive. Maybe they can get a crash out, likely not. DropDeadGaming do definitely have to be careful, though, here. Kiwi taking a lot of CC. Evil Lobster in a bit of a precarious position. He's going to try and get his way out of there. Now going to have to be using the flash, but now Evil Lobster is the lamb to the slaughter, and it's going to be Kiwi that's going to drop anyways. They had no business being that far up in the lane, and Akuma make them pay for it.
Yeah, once again, the Crescent Guard, so much value. Wow, Mexican mid taking a huge chunk.
Oh. Should be okay after
flashes
flashing
out. Yeah, doesn't want to risk maybe getting chased out once the stun expires. After the invulnerability wears off. Never Outmatched, wants to find a flank, is spotted out on a ward though. Troy has the Shrima Shuffle, but it's just too dangerous to go into this Rel Caitlyn combo, and that is Soul right there, and it should be just easy secure here. So game has stabilized. Omega Akuma getting out of that very, very sticky situation that they might have found themselves in, and I don't know, translating this very well.
It's restabilized into that sort of landslide category where we're back to a 6,000 plus gold lead. Very comfortable. Now they have the soul too. So these are stats that aren't going to be reflected in Akuma's actual lead when you actually look at the gold that they are ahead. The stats that they get from the soul isn't shown there. So they're even now, in a sense, roughly around 10,000 gold ahead, I would say, as we're going to get another pause. Hopefully this pause is about as short as the other pauses have been. But this one now, we had a bit of a hiccup for Akuma, but it does now look done and dusted, unless we see 5 minutes time from now, Golden Gad at the Elder, this is the exact same thing.
Yeah, and trying to stall that long is going to be difficult. I will say one thing, the Hextech Soul is just so much harder for DDG to deal with. I mean, you're already having problems where you're getting these long-range engages and people are struggling to follow up on them. And that's just going to be an even more consistent theme since Hextech Soul, the real big deal breaker about this is the slow on top of that Chain Lightning. You know, that really does make the follow-up a lot more difficult as they go in for the engage. So I think they're going to have a much harder time as these fights kind of move on, as the Baron spawns up here into this one. They do have a great vision line, though, here for DDG. It's crazy that they're able to establish this so early here. But now you see towards that bot side, probably going to catch out the Azir, or at least try and force it out. Going to be able to catch that wave. Does not have TP, remember that, but might be able to cancel this recall.
The turret was used, so Troy is going to be able to push back but did have to commit that Emperor's Divide as well. I like the point that you mentioned about the vision line that DDG was able to get on the top side. That's going to be swept out immediately, though, now that Akuma has retaken the river there, is we're going to see an Enchanted Crystal Arrow. Honestly, Brandy fan, I understand it, bro. You see a Xin Zhao there with Hextech Soul right up in your face. I'm tossing that one out, too. It's going to go wide, and Evil Lobster is doing a little bit of a sneaky here, trying to somehow catch someone out, maybe get into position for an eventual Baron steal. But yeah, desperation, Golden God, is exactly what we are seeing from DropDeadGaming. Just look at him. He's just sitting up there. I don't know what he's waiting for, what's going to happen, but he's trying to manifest some type of winning play here. Troy's going to run to his volley bear that's waiting in the brush. He's trying to out him right now and reveal his position, but he's not even going to be able to get there in time before he drops. And Evil Lobster is just going to stand there and stay there, as is actually going to be picked off, though, so Never Outmatch is going to grab that kill. And onto the Baron they go, with Evil Lobster waiting in the wings.
Yeah, at the very least, they have Hawkshot to spot this out, and now they're going to know Evil Lobster coming from the top side, and I assume they're going to play this very carefully. They don't want the same thing to happen for Otacon, and yes, they dive onto him.
They're not taking chances. Absolutely not. I'm saying, Evil Lobster, you tried, bro. We're not giving it to you this time. Never Outmatched, though, is doing a lot of damage onto Kerrigan. But the cavalry is going to arrive. Keyboard is going to pick that kill up. Brandy fan is wailing into Viet right now, but he's just going to use the audacious charge to close the gap and finish him off right there. It's actually Kerrigan with the severing bolt to get the killing blow. And Mr. Kiwiism is not long for this world. Team fight victory for DropDeadGaming. They're going to turn their attention right back towards the Baron, as Evil Lobster is still alive. But again, Fails is going to find him. He's definitely not going to be able to find a steal. At least I don't think. He's chasing him down, waiting for this inevitable play to happen.
Yeah, gets spotted out, so no steal shenanigans with like a portal or something. So they're actually going to be able to survive that play without any shenanigans like that Otacon at the very least. So pretty well played, but I was a little bit concerned when went down on the bot side. I had a little bit of a deja vu from that play, but still able to find the players there. I mean, Viet is just so strong on the Xin Zhao. I feel like can just do whatever they actually want, and it does not really matter if you have a Braum if the Ashe does not do nearly enough damage to actually shred through that HP bar.
I talked to Keyboarder before this series started, and I asked him a very similar question I asked the coach of DDG. You guys got a new roster here for Akuma Esports. What is the previous synergies with this team? Is there any pre-existing synergies? How have you guys been doing? this was a team that was collectively agreed upon by all the other players. Some of them have pre-existing synergies and have played with each other before, and I think we're seeing that here in this game. They have very much been on the ball, and this early on in the season is very impressive up against one of the top teams in DDG. Could see a future rivalry brewing, as we are likely going to go to a game 3. But it was interesting to find that out there from the Akuma side, and we're definitely seeing how they can be a formidable team, as they also told me their aspirations for Titan Immortal are a championship, nothing less. And so we're going to see if they can at least start with a win on the board, as it does look like we're going to game 3. But we're going to see in this final team fight if any heroics can happen from DDG's side.
Yeah, they are getting some nice poke out on Viet here. Zir doing a lot of damage. They are going to find Evil Lobster. Stunned up.
He's gone. Down. Immediately he evaporates. I mean, you're just not tanky on this Volibear, as MM just tanked up everything like they were a Malphite of some sorts. And there's going to be the Spiraling Despair plus the ace in the hole. Troy tries to pull off a heroic play with the Emperor's Divide, but there just is not enough damage. Nexus is exposed. 29 minutes, a sub-30 win here for the side of Akuma. They get it done, and we're going to game 3.
Yeah, pretty clean game overall. You know, they shored up some of those weaknesses they found themselves in the last one. They didn't overextend, felt like, for any of these fights, like in that first game. And, you know, a little bit of a different look. They went for the carry side on the top lane instead of having something consistent like the Kazante, and it looked a lot better. They leveraged their side lane pretty well, I'd say, towards the late game. And, you know, they had a bit of a blemish at the Otacon fight, but that happens. But the real strength of teams is how they stabilize after big mistakes like that. So I'd say very well played there for them.
What a way to start off our season here in Titan Immortal, and with a game number 3. It's a fearless game 3 as well. A lot of people say you don't really feel the fearless sort of draft until you do get to those game 3s and 4s if it was a best of 5. But we're going into game 3 now. We see 20 champions pinched out of these players' pools. There's going to be no more pocket pick Tryndamere here for MM in this game, and I'm excited to see what they pull out in game 3. But what a dominant performance from Akuma it was. And now it's DropDeadGaming here, who are on the back foot after a loss. How can they regroup themselves? Will they be able to capture their mental back, bring it back to where it was in game number 1, and finish off this series to continue the very winning ways here in Titan Immortal that DDG is used to? That's what we're going to find out here after this very short break. When we return, game 3 begins. Don't go anywhere.
Crazy, oh, oh, crazy, oh, oh, crazy, crazy, oh, crazy, oh, oh, crazy, 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 crazy.
We are back in the Titan Immortal League for the conclusion of our opening best of 3 of the winter split here in 2025. And what a series it's been so far. It hasn't necessarily been too close or as close as we may have expected, Golden God, with I would say close to back-to-back stomps. Game 1 was a little bit closer, but Game 2, barring the Otacon play there from the side of DropDeadGaming, was an absolute landslide. And now it comes down to this. Fearless, 20 champions off the board. Bragging rights on the line to start the split here as a early, maybe not favorite. We got to see how the other teams end up getting and playing as well. But this is a big game, big matchup. We're going to see who closes it out here.
Yeah, I mean, if this ends up being our 2 top teams, they will not meet again until playoffs. So it's pretty important if you want that first seed to be able to pick up your matchup during playoffs that you actually secure this game now. I mean, yes, you're going to have a lot of surprises in this best of 3 because, first game of the season, yes, there probably have been some scrims, but generally you're not going to be as acquainted with these opposing teams as you will be later on in the split. So I'd say this is a pretty influential one that definitely both of these teams are going to want to pick up for sure. And, from what I've been seeing, I think they have a great chance of being some of the top table teams. DDG coming off with a roster that's pretty similar to what they had last time. So I imagine they can repeat that success to at least some degree. But yeah, I mean, when it's Fearless, game 3, and this is a crucial matchup, I'd say anything's on the table and expect some crazy drafts for sure because when you lose some of those priority picks and the bans are still available in full for game 3 here. So they should have a lot more kind of fringe picks that may be allowed through. We saw Azir in the last one. We saw stuff like the Tryndamere. So things that, when you think of the general meta, you wouldn't expect to be in the forefront. But, I mean, there are still some strong picks as well. Things like Victor. Did get nerfed a little bit in the last patch, but still can prop up here. And a lot of the AD carry pool also kind of shrunken down. There are still some big priority lanes such as Callista, Draven as well, who's been picking up a lot of play lately, could potentially see their way on to this board.
At least from the AD carry side, I wonder if we're going to get a quirky game from either of Branny Fan and Keyboarder, because both of these players, at least in their most recent solo queue matches, have liked this champion, and it's really, really strong right now. For some reason, Riot Games is just ignoring the fact that Corki exists. He's pretty much the strongest marksman in the entire game and has been for so many patches in a row. So I would honestly like to see that come through. There's been a lot of aggression bot side as well, and Corki thrives on that. A champion that can very much bully aggressive lanes, depending on support matchup. But we're not going to see Skarner. We're not going to see that Ambessa. Never Outmatched was very practiced on that Ambessa, so it is still Akuma who are saying no way to that one. And there's the Corki taken away. I think that's actually been banned most of these games, so I think that's why we haven't seen it just yet.
Second ban after game 2, so DDG taking that away, doesn't want to allow that strong first pick here, but there's still a lot of options, and it's going to be the MF, so another one of those supportive mids, a little bit more team fighting skew, but should still have a great lane matchup, depending on what ends up getting locked in here. You could, as I said, things that have a little bit more prio, such as the Draven, are still available. Wukong, another one of those dueling junglers. So last game we saw the Xin Zhao out of Viet work out pretty well, but Wukong's going to be that lock-in, has a lot of great engage, and is really good at sniping out the MF here in the back lines. So I'd say pretty good for disruption, but we're actually going to see Ezreal, definitely a pick that is picking up some steam. I know a lot of people don't like this champion that much unless you're literally ruler, so I could see that being something of a concern, but definitely has a lot of strong pairings in that bot lane. But we're actually going to see Nidalee, which is one of those picks you see a lot more often here, mostly in LCK for the most part, because those Korean junglers love that pick, but definitely is a very high priority, able to get a lot of quick clearing and able to get on the map real quick, so you're able to actually find some of those early skirmishes and should be able to snowball pretty well with the supplementary pick of the Leona. We've seen this banned a lot throughout this series in those, later stages bans. Same for the Bard, and we're going to see both of them get locked in here. So we have those bot lanes and jungles locked in here, and it's going to be up to those solo lanes for these last couple picks.
I love the Leona on 3 for the side of Akuma, because not only does it pair so nicely with Misfortune, you get Solar Flare into bullet time, but that also denies Mr. Kiwi of that pick as well. And Mr. Kiwi is a big Leona player, but Mr. Kiwi at the same time is going to get that very elusive Bard. Now, they've been banning it away, has Akuma. So there's something about the Bard that they don't like. I don't really like the Ezreal into Misfortune. I don't think the Bard does a whole lot here for them in this game either. So as for now, I'm very much liking the Akuma draft. They got the engage. Now, the question is, are they going to... It's kind of all over the place. So they have a Misfortune for engage, and then they also have a Nidalee there, which is more poke style. Jace is obviously taken off the board, something you pair with the Nidalee very often. So I don't know the route from this point on that Akuma is going to go for, but that's something that we're definitely going to have to pay attention and look forward to as we see the Akali lock in on R4 for the side of DropDeadGaming.
I wouldn't be surprised if this could be a potential flex, but we're going to see the Vex, which just instantly neutralizes that matchup pretty well. You're able to just pop that W when you have that fear up and just completely stomp out the Akali in that one. So I'm curious whether they'll actually flex it to the top side, something that is definitely possible with Poppy too. They're neutralizing these dashes. They don't want to have to deal with this Akali in lane at all, so they're going to make it very difficult. Now it's up to what is this last pick. Can you find something that can really dominate in either of these lanes? And it's going to be the Yorick.
Whoa.
I've played a ton of Poppy, and this matchup sucks for Poppy. Yorick completely stomps Poppy in the side lane, so you're not going to have something in that last game where you saw, you know, Mexican mid and Never Outmatched just matching each other for forever. It's going to probably be much more towards Never Outmatched in that Yorick matchup, and going to be able to establish quite the presence in the side lane, which means it's up to Akuma to find the angles for these fights and to kind of take away the Yorick and not allow it to get its full value in these side lanes.
I wonder if we're going to see a lane swap here then. If you are the Poppy and you absolutely despise this matchup, then a lane swap could come through. You really would just neutralize that lane, and then you don't have that bad of a lane on the other side either, as Poppy would be fine to just sit there and, you know, go 2 versus 1 up against the Ezreal and the Bard. So we're going to see if that ends up being the case. As for the moment, though, doesn't really look like that is going to happen. Looks like we're just going to have our standard lane assignments. I mean, we said in Fearless things could go all over the place. I think we definitely have that with the Akuma draft. Again, they have poke with the Nidalee, and then they just got full-fledged engage. You want to go in with Leon, you want to go in with Vex, and then we're going to see what happens there. We need to see at least Viet, who is very experienced on this Nidalee, like you said, get that early lead, invade, find a priority in the lanes if the side of Akuma can get that to invade and try and kill this Wukong here, and just get on the board and get rolling. That's what they need.
Yeah, they need to get these early skirmishes going before this Yorick and Akali really get online in these side lanes, because that could be a big problem for them. I mean, MF and Poppy, I don't think really do that well in the side lane. Vex should be able to hold their own at the very least, but it's not going to be easy at all. And unfortunately, that ward missed, so they're not going to be able to see exactly the timing and exact pathing that Wukong goes for, but they did drop that ward on that Krug, so they should at least have some info that it will be a clear towards bot side in this one. And they're just going to be matching, so expect some action at level 3 when both those junglers end up towards that side. At least Bard Ezreal is one of those ranged matchups that maybe could poke out early on and maybe find enough damage to dissuade a Leona engage. But it's still, you have to play on a knife's edge, and both of these champions you have to be extremely careful with. If you get dove on without your utility, it could be disastrous. I feel like Poppy, the only time you win is this very early on matchup here. You know, the ghouls are still going to make it annoying, but at the very least, you're not getting so much lifesteal from each of those Qs for the Yorick. So this is really the only big window for Poppy to get some sort of prio.
I think they're trying to track Evil Lobster for the side of Akuma so that they can get aggressive. But like you said, double ranged in the bot lane, it's really hard to get prio if you're the side of Keyboarder and fails. It really isn't until Misfortune builds that Bloodthirster, which I'm not even sure if Keyboarder's going to do that. They might end up going for a lethality build since they do have First Strike in the runes instead of press the attack. We'll have to see. But typically Misfortune builds the Bloodthirster, rushes that. So basically the poke from Ezreal is inevitable. That's why a lot of pro players actually thought Misfortune was quite the good matchup into the Ezreal. But for the moment, it's neutral or prio to Brandy Fan and Kiwi, which makes it hard for Viet to go up and actually roam and try and attack Evil Lobster in their own jungle. And it's going to kind of just be a farm fest for the moment, which I think definitely benefits the side of DropDeadGaming when they do hit those level 6 spikes at an even standpoint and can use things like that Cyclone to just really start up these fights.
Yeah, I will say, you know, Nidalee should have a lot of prio. Wukong, not the best dueler early on, definitely needs some of those items on the table, and has a lot of prio to actually be able to establish this. Gets the ward down, secures the
Ooh, they're gonna
scuttle, now
find
going to
each
do a lot
other.
of damage.
Here comes Via. This is where the Nidalee shines. Has the red buff, is going to be able to stick to you, and gets the Scuttle Crab. And now Via's going to jump all the way up here to the top side of the map as well. And the recall is just going to be channeled by Evil Lobster because Kerrigan has priority. Did find that nice trade onto Troy. Can't look for the Scuttle Crab here. Good start for that Nidalee as MM actually not trading too badly up against Never Outmatched.
Yeah, probably the only time that MM's going to be able to contest this lane for now. I mean, maybe first and second reset, you should be okay. And then afterwards, a couple items on the board, it's going to be much more difficult. You're just going to be clearing waves and hoping that the Yorick doesn't land at either the cage or the slow on the E there. So it's pretty interesting there. I will say one thing. It was pretty interesting to see the Akali on that R4. I will say they definitely were, you know, kind of putting an inkling out that maybe they'll be flexing it, but I mean, Akuma just completely indexing into countering that champion in particular and finding a pretty interesting angle with the Vex Poppy. But yeah, the Yorick actually a great response to that exact look there.
It really is just it's such an odd composition, an odd pairing of champions. Full throttle engage, but they also have decent disengage with Vex and Poppy as well. Then they got some poke mixed in there. At least for the side of Drop Dead, we can kind of see that they're going forward with Wukong. The only real problem is Evil Lobster doesn't have a lot of follow-up with him in terms of actual engage. Bard isn't the best. He has like Tempered Fate and maybe a Lucky Stun. But Wukong, for the most part, is going in alone. So I feel like that could be the very big danger for the side of Drop Dead's comp going forward, is Evil Lobster trying to go in and just getting blown up immediately.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of 1-3-1 here for DDG. They're going to try and put the Akali on the side lane with that Yorick on the other side because, you know, at the very least should not be solo killable, but they will not, you know, Troy won't have the pressure to be able to force out any turrets. They could also look for a 4-1 angle. Fail's looking for a little bit of a look here in mid, but not going to be able to get anything. The Shuriken flip is not committed to. And now Evil Lobster is just going to start up this drag, but I'm pretty sure that Leona and Italy should just be stronger here, so forced off.
I'm taking the magical journey out, but Fails is taking it in and going to use the Zenith Blade that's actually going to connect Shadow Surge onto the clone. Is unfortunate there for Kerrigan, but my goodness, the aggression from Akuma. Honestly, I have to say, they're staying consistent. They've been doing this every single game. Evil Lobster is forced to flash away. They're jumping onto Kiwi now, but now Troy has joined the party as well. First Blood is going to go over to Akuma, but the R2 is going to get that right back for Troy. Fails, flashes over the wall. 1 HP. Brady Fan going to try and follow up this play. Going to use the Arcane Shift. He's going to find himself in the middle of Viet and flash right back over the wall. Chaos, pandemonium breaking out around this jungle as Viet flashes forward and finds the kill into Brandy Fan. Evil Lobster should be able to trade this one. They are 2 for 2 at the 6.5 minute mark around the Infernal Drake.
Yeah, able to find some gold, at least in the pocket of the Nidalee, but the Drake is just completely mute. Now, there is no response here. I think the timing there for Akali was just so optimal. Shadow Surge going wide really was a difference maker in that one. I think with those resets, potentially could have found a great fight, but the gold is going to stay even, and they're going to sit at 2-2, which means no one's going to get that Feat of War.
One more kill will decide that first Feat of Warfare. It feels so nice when you do end up getting that because it really kind of does set the tone for the next couple if you are able to build off of those first 3 kills that you get. But again, like you said, still very close. And I was going to say before all that craziness broke out that this is the calmest start to a game, if you can believe it, that we've had thus far in this best of 3. Immediately, Akuma went for a play. But both of these teams have been very aggressive thus far in this series. 2 very aggressive teams. It's just the way that they like to play. But now the grub's being taken. It's going to be a good side here for Akuma. Going to get all 3 as well. No contest for DropDeadGaming. That first tick towards that objective Feat of Warfare.
Yeah, the Nidalee doing Nidalee things. Able to clear out those so quickly. Kerrigan in a bit of pressure here. Not going to actually
Does
get
dodge away from the
up.
stun. He's dropping low, though. The Shuriken lands. Not going to be enough damage. They don't really want to go for that, but at least a good chunk there. Kiwi getting involved across the map. Bard's doing a pretty good job of that. Is one of the better champions at doing that.
Yeah, it's a little bit harder for Vex. You know, you have to play around that fear, and if you use it on the minion wave, you pretty much don't have the pressure. So establishing prio can be sometimes difficult if you're getting pressured hard, and you need to actually commit that to actually clear out some of the wave. You know, it's definitely a balancing line, and I'll say there's a reason why so many pro players, this champ has been strong, but a lot of the time there's only a couple of specialists who actually play it, such as Knight in LPL, so it's pretty difficult. Mexican mid gonna get rooted up, but you're seeing this is a difficult matchup for sure, since Poppy really has no great way of dealing with Maiden at all.
The eulogy of the Isles, says Yorick, as the Maiden is there, and the Maiden will just annoy you, like you said. If it takes a couple tower shots, that's good for MM in the top side, but like you said, it's annoying. You're going to be underneath this tower all game long, and this pressure is never going to stop. It is relentless. I really doubt that Never Outmatched is going to even think about their team in this game, and it's pretty fitting how the Tryndamere player is also... Actually, no, it was Mexican mid that played the Tryndamere. Never mind, scratch that. I was going to say, it's fitting how the Tryndamere player played the Yorick, but that was Mexican mid that pulled that out. But regardless, the pressure is going to be immense. But the CS has been pretty good, so MM's done a pretty decent job of holding their own thus far in the game.
Yeah, will the team fight strength of the Poppy kind of sustain through the split push threat of the Yorick is really the question for this one. Going to be able to dodge away a lot of those cooldowns. The Maiden also now full HP, but they are ganking Never Outmatched after that TP. Going to be able to force up the Maiden here.
They're just ganking the Maiden. You know what? This is very valid. If I am MM, I'm calling my jungler just to get the Maiden. Get this creature out of my lane. It's making things impossible right now. So actually, going to be pretty helpful. Evil Lobster was here on the same side, so it's not like a cross-map play even really happened. So I guess you can say it's half decent.
Yeah, not too bad. It is a pretty long cooldown. I think about 150 seconds for that Maiden to come back up. So it is pretty influential to actually take it down. York's still going to have some sort of advantage. Poppy didn't get a great reset here since the TP had to be committed earlier, but now they're going for the regank.
They're looking for him again. Flash, heroic charge is going to bring Never Outmatched right back. Keeper's Verdict going to knock him up as well. Follow it up with the Shadow Surge, and there is the feat of warfare claimed for Akuma, and they grab the kill right there. Troy's going to be able to trade back with some plates, but nice teamwork there from the mid-top jungle of Akuma.
Yeah, Troy now getting converged on. It's stunned up.
Get stunned up. Solar Flare connects as well. Good Tempered Fate, though, from Kiwi is going to stop this play from happening. Should still have the miss to jump into for Troy. You can use the Shuriken Flip to get right on back and get out of there. So Kiwi is the hero and saves his mid laner's life.
Yeah, I believe Troy has to be a bit more careful because I'm pretty sure Nidalee gives True Vision in that Shroud, so has to play around that as well on top of the Vex and the Poppy, so not an easy Akali game at all. Bard now just harassing Kerrigan to make sure no canceling of backs can occur, but Kerrigan's going to get the push out here, and that should give Nidalee some tempo to at least walk towards that drag and even consider it a look towards it.
It's funny how we started this game with a huge skirmish over that Infernal Drake, or at least over control of it, and then 6-7 minutes later, that Drake still hasn't gone down yet, and both of these teams will probably end up playing for this next spawn of grubs over the Drake. At least DropDeadGaming do not want to trade one Drake for 6 grubs. That would definitely not be worth it, hence why they're prioritizing this river so much. They're going to get that pink ward down, they're going to start it up. Let's see if Akuma can make a response.
Yeah, York not that useful, has no Maiden here. Bard trying to zone out, doesn't have that Tempered Fate from the last fight. As they're now posturing, Mexican mid wants to engage.
They're in the Shroud right now. Fails is taking so low, though. It is going to drop immediately. Bullet time, not going to get a lot of value either. Singled out is Mexican mid, and this is 2 kills now immediately for DropDeadGaming. And they're going to press on forward. They're going to continue to hit onto these grubs. Kerrigan and Viet are trying so hard to get any type of poke down, try and lower someone's health bar enough, but they just don't have enough in the tank right now. Troy is leading the charge here for DropDeadGaming. They get the grubs, they win the fight, and they're going to get out with a magical journey as well.
Well played. They're looking for it, but no, Viet's not able to land the spears to actually go back in. Still being quite the nuisance. You know, you got to play on this line, try and find it. Evil Lobster wants to engage.
Oh, they're going to look for the Tempered Fate. Forces the flash off of Viet. The Kiwi's actually applying a whole lot of pressure here with that ultimate. Fails use the Solar Flare, but just simply no follow-up. Both of these teams a little bit discombobulated here in these skirmishes.
Yeah, they're able to at least force out some resources, but still, it's all going to go for big resets here, and I think now is when they're finally going to go for this Drake, since the York is locked in that side lane for quite a while now. Poppy's going to get rooted up. This is pretty much unoptimal. Gotta actually deny the
Oh,
with
no.
the W, so that you're taking turret.
He's tanking tower as well. Keeper's Verdict, thankfully, going to get him out, but Evil Lobster is here, going to try and chase down MM. Oh, you might just be done for here. Does he have a steadfast presence to block Evil Lobster's dash? Doesn't look like it's going to be the case. Is going to get a shield. This Poppy actually does do a lot of damage. Into the clone goes Evil Lobster. Does he have enough to finish it off? He actually has to be careful. The little goblins are going to jump on him. It's not going to be enough. Viet's here as well, just going to try and 1v1 the Maiden, who's playing bodyguard for the rest of them. Very tense situation up here, but no one from either team ends up going down.
Yeah, you know, I'm seeing Sunfire Cape Poppy. That is a blast from the past. You don't really see that as much nowadays. So definitely is playing careful and just trying to catch these waves as the York puts them in, but not going to get any easier. I think it's going to be a regank here to deny the Maiden, most likely here for Viet, and maybe get a kill, but Mexican mid has to be very careful.
He's getting so aggressive. Tried to push him back with the heroic charge. Did not land. Good dodge from Never Outmatched on the spear. Viet trying to chase down this kill. Again, you do have to be so careful. Dodges away from the first E, so will not get that extra damage rolling through. Wants this 1 versus 1, but now MM's going to join the party, so it should be a 2 versus 1. There's the heroic charge, and Never Outmatched will fall on the extended play, and 1 kill goes over back to Akuma, and the trade will be the Drake on the bot side. As I'm not sure if we've lost Golden or if Golden's mic is having some troubles, so we'll continue.
I got Windows
he's
11.
back.
My Discord decided to go not responding for a second there, so that's a little unfortunate, but I'm back. I seem to have missed some action.
Well, how much action did you miss the kill at the very least?
I did miss the kill, however, I saw how
Okay.
it's set up, so pretty well.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was the kill on the top side.
all right, perfect. So, yeah, I mean, this Nidalee is fully online. You got Leandri's at about 13 minutes, has the Dark Seal as well, stacking up. So I think that's definitely going to be a big problem here because they don't really have great lockdown onto the Nidalee in particular. So getting this large... Okay, if you miss spears like that, though, I guess it doesn't matter. But, yeah, either way, still looking good for Akuma, as they are just a bit up in gold, but it's really even nonetheless, as looks like it's probably going to be just a lot of action on the top side again for this Rift Herald.
What I will say, if we're taking a look at this game in terms of the entirety of the teams and looking at the builds, specifically at Keyboarder, opting into this lethality misfortune like I predicted, or at least thought could be a possibility with the fact that they took the first strike in their runes, is going to be very reliant on their ultimate for damage. You do not have a lot of DPS with this build, and there isn't a lot of setup here outside of maybe a solar flare for this bullet time to actually come down onto multiple people. So I really am worried about the effectiveness of Keyboarder in these fights if the synergy and the timing isn't really perfect for Akuma. Otherwise, I feel like Ezreal is going to be very much better once those 2 items do hit and the Man Immune is complete for the side of Brandyfan. We're seeing that combination go down now onto Never Outmatched, who is once again in a very precarious position. Usually Yorick does actually like these odds. Not this time, as VF grabs another kill. The response play onto MM in the bot lane. Flash forward to try and get the heroic charge. Can the minions finish off the kill? The heal from Kiwi is so clutch. Almost Mexican mid performing the outplay of the season. That was crazy, but not close enough.
Yeah, so close there, but you're seeing how the side lanes are really going to get focused down here. As Leona's going to go for the second charge. Evil Lobster in the bush lurking, but there's really no follow-up if they do go for an engage, but no one really knows. Keyboarder.
He's sitting inside of the brush. He's getting onto Keyboarder right now with the Cyclone. Still has 1 more charge. He's going to use the flash to close the gap and finish that kill off. 420 gold into the hands of the Wukong. Shadow Surge does connect, and it will be enough damage. Kerrigan with the flash is able to get out to safety. The play will continue on to Fails, who's been locked up by the stun. Brandyfan will secure that kill. Hot in pursuit is Troy. Shuriken flip. Rocket Belt. Flash. Perfect execution. Kerrigan says no with the fear, though. R2 forward. Can he find the rest of the damage? It looks like Kiwi's going to be the one to try and finish off that kill, but a huge gap close secures another one for DDG. They are now up 8 kills to 6 in this game number 3.
Yeah, and then now they're pushing for a dive, but
no,
they don't
Kiwi.
know that MM is there. Kiwi
That was
down.
not the magical journey you wanted.
It was pretty magical, I'd say. I mean, Poof, he's
if
gone.
death is magical.
Yeah. Oh, more damage. Troy's
Viet.
actually going to get taken down. Viet.
Wow,
Find it.
Viet, creative pathing here, but you're going to walk into 2 other players. We're just getting extended fight after extended fight, Golden Gad. It's like a whole extra bit of content here. It's like a post-credit scene.
Yeah, I mean, it just keeps on giving, I'd say. I will say something interesting for the last one is that Yorick actually saved the Maiden, because obviously if Yorick goes down, you lose Maiden in that 3-player skirmish in the top side. So it's a good thing you had it for that last fight, since you don't really summon ghouls otherwise. So pretty well played there. And, you know, DDG's kind of establishing a nice foothold here, but it's still, I'd say, slightly a favor towards Akuma. I think they have a little bit more control right now, but you know, those are the kind of fights that gets DDG back into this one. If Akali is kind of uncalled or unmatched really in those fights, it's going to be pretty hard for this MF to really do a lot of damage. As now they're pressuring onto Kerrigan. This is Bard
This is the
doing
power
Bard
of the
things.
Bard. Absolutely. He's here, he's canceling your back, and you know that there's other people on the way, but you just can't do anything about it. That is fantastic from Kiwi. Every single Bard player, if there's any Bard players watching this game right now in chat, they're very, very proud of you. Excellent job to get that pick down there for DropDeadGaming. And now they're going to get priority down towards that bot side and control around this Drake pit.
Yeah, Drake gonna spawn, but Otacon is on the opposite side, so it makes it a bit more awkward. You can make the trade if you'd like, but the drag are kind of low. Keyboard are gonna have to flash out. Able to dodge away from the Q after and actually survive. It is going to be that ruinous, or that voracious Otacon once again. The game was bloody, but it's still going to be that 150-second false life buff for them, as Viet is going to start up this Drake. No pressure towards the top side besides that Yorick.
We're just using the spear to try and scout out where DropDeadGaming are, get a feel for what objective they're prioritizing, because it is an interesting situation, and good that you pointed it out, Golden Gad. We got Otacon and Cloud Drake on opposite sides of the map. Obviously, you'd probably prefer the Otacon buff, but situations might pan out where you can't really get in position for one. You're going to have to choose the other. A teleport has been forced out, though, from the pressure that Troy was putting onto that tower, and MM was there to try and help out their mid laner. So that is a key summoner spell down now for Akuma for the next little bit.
Yeah, they want to force out this Maiden and at least get it down. And it looks like Mexican mid really trying to get that through, but now going to meet Evil Lobster in the bush. Going to get stunned up. That is a crazy angle on that. But now they're flanking on the other side, Viet.
This is a really interesting start to the fight. It is Evil Lobster who went in onto MM, although the Poppy kind of just said, thanks, I'm going to tank all that damage. I'm going to keep standing in the front line, protecting my Vex. Shadow Surge goes wide, never outmatched, finds the sidestep magical journey to safety for Kiwi and Evil Lobster. And the siege will continue for the side of Akuma. They feel like they got enough in the tank right now to make this play happen. They're throwing out spears, they're throwing out poke. This tower is getting down very low. Starting off the fight fails, and there is the bullet time over the top as well. Never outmatched. Is outmatched by that bullet time. 4 versus 5 on the map now for Akuma, who are heading straight for the Otacon buff.
The extended fight is just so much better, at least in that scenario where Ezreal just isn't there. So the Nidalee healing on top of some of just the extra sustain that the Poppy provides meant that once the Maiden goes down, you just lose so much pressure. You can't really actually find an extended fight there. And, you know, Yorick would much rather be on the opposite side of the map instead of being where all the pressure is. But this Otacon is really forcing DDG to be on this side, and that could really give them a lot of leeway here for Akuma to take priority on this objective. Cloud Drake's still standing tall, but, you know, with only one Drake, I really think you just go towards Otacon, and now you're in the territory where you can force the Otacon and chain that into Baron. Since we're about 22.5 minutes in, that 150 seconds will carry over to that buff, so it's even more important now.
It's such a tense position of this game. Both of these teams are really starting to feel the pressure. They were playing a lot more loose in previous games towards this point, even when they were in winning positions or when they were in losing positions. Now it feels a lot more reserved. But right now, there's no attack onto the Otacon for Akuma, And Cloud Drake is being taken for free, essentially, by DropDead Gaming. Now Akuma's going to realize, oh crap, we gave away that Cloud Drake. They're pinging, or at least there's red pings, onto this Otacon, but there's just simply no one there. So 2 Drakes now for DropDead Gaming. That means we're very much going to be concentrated to this top side of the map for the next couple of minutes with this buff up and available. And 2 minutes to go on the Baron as well, like you previously mentioned.
Yeah, I'd say it's kind of a mistake. I feel like they should have at least looked towards it since they had so much vision in the deep jungle on that top side for Akuma, but they just didn't want to pull the trigger. They were too scared to actually commit to that buff. And it means that, you know, DDG just gets away with that dragon for free. And now the contest is going to happen on the top side no matter what. And you have optimal lane setups here with the Yorick on that bot side. But Nidalee is going to try and change that as Viet walks towards the bot side, but never outmatched, has an inkling, walks away, and forces the Nidalee to go back towards top side.
Kiwi. Kiwi, there's danger inside of that brush, but look at that. 1 flash for 2 ultimates. Potential window opening here for DropDead Gaming to find a fight. That was a little bit risky from Akuma because Viet was on the other side of the map. If they had that play turned onto them, that very easily could have been a 3 for 0 in favor of DropDead Gaming into that Otacon. But again, I'm going to go back to that point I made. Tense moment of this game. Things are going to reach its peak very soon, and we are going to see who comes out on top. But it's so close right now. And it might actually come down to a big play happening bot side in this 1v1, or someone like Keyboarder ruining the party, or fails as well. They're actually looking to knock down the Yorick, and it looks like they're going to be successful in doing so. Flash away from the Zenith Blade, but Keyboarder has so much movement speed. Troy's actually here, though, to try and help out his top laner. There's a lot of low HP bars, but you got to walk through fails, and Kerrigan has teleported in to protect the rest of them.
In that meantime, they found Viet on the top side, and with Kerrigan TPing down, I mean, this is just a gone Otacon. So, you know, I think the stall from Never Outmatched just works out well, and because Viet goes down, they just don't have the positioning, and that's free Otacon into the Baron as well. They're going to try and TP Mexican mid over to that top side, but I just think it's too little too late.
They don't have Smite, although Evil Lobster is getting very low. MM is going to try and knock him down. He is away from the Otacon, but now he gets back into the pit. There is the Smite, and there is the Shadow Surge that connects. Flash away from Kerrigan on the Tempered Fate. The play will continue, but the false lives are in the hands of DropDead Gaming, so even if they fall, it isn't the full value being acquired here from Akuma, but still, it's 200 gold for a lot of these kills, so a decent injection, Golden Gad, for the side of Akuma.
Yeah, I'm surprised they sticked around after that initial kill onto Evil Lobster. I feel like you just disengaged there and you leveraged the power of the withdraw afterwards, but they actually end up just committing to it, and that means they're going to lose all that pressure they got from the Otacon, and the nice play on bot side. Never Outmatched, now getting pressured once again here by Viet. Does not have the Maiden.
Let's see if they can take him down. Should be able to do so. There's the stun onto the turret. Nice job from MM. They get a 200 gold and get that false life out. So for all of that, Golden Gad, how anticlimactic is that? We got a very underwhelming usage of the Voracious Otacon for all of that buildup that we had. Now the only remaining neutral on that top side will be that Baron as Troy knocks down the tier 1 in the top lane, opening the map up a little bit more here for DropDead Gaming. And a minute and a half to go on this next Drake. Looking towards Soul as DDG.
Yeah, anticlimactic indeed. And now, you know, what's your path forward? Do you just try and force out the Baron after York gets another split push going? But it seems like, you know, Akuma actually has quite a bit of map movement with the help of the Nidalee to actually be able to match that with 2 members to 1. And it just feels like DDG hasn't found the openings that they'd like as much as, you know, you'd expect when they have Akuma committing so many members to the bot side to actually commit onto this Yorick. So, I mean, it's looking kind of dicey for DDG. I mean, they're still within the realm of this game. They're only 2k down, and they do have the prio on the Drake stacking. So it's definitely still doable, but they need to find a nice stabilizing fight here pretty soon here. Viet now going to try and chase out Kiwi out of this bot side jungle. But a lot of vision placed in here, and the Maiden gonna go for a quick run around in the jungle.
The Maiden is in very unknown territory. This is not a lane. These are not champions. What are these jungle monsters? Unless there's some jungle York players. The jungle Maidens would know what this is all about. But it is vision control for DropDead Gaming that is being acquired here, and it's making life really hard for Akuma. Now this Ocean Drake is up. Again, sole point for DropDead Gaming. You can give this if you're Akuma, but then 5 minutes time, you're staring down the barrel of an Ocean Soul to your opponents. Definitely not something you want to give over to them. As Fails is going to check this bush, is going to start out the play. There's a very early Tempered Fate. It's going to stun up 2. And let's see, this Bard is getting very low. Keyboarder is actually going to grab that kill. Now Troy is locked up in the backside. Evil Lobster only finds 1. Viet is able to jump right on out of there. MM is in the backside of the fight as well. Brady Fan trying to do their very best to deal damage with these Mystic shots. Caught up is Troy in the backside. Flash over the wall to safety. Going to buy himself a little bit of extra time. 5 versus 4 on the map here for Akuma. And it will be Fails to find their way on to Never Outmatched, trying to do this work in the front line, but Keyboarder once again finds the kill, and MM wants to continue to play, finds the heroic charge, combined with the bullet time, and it will be Evil Lobster to fall inside their own clone teleport to come through, but this is 2 versus 5 on the map. Akuma is running this fight here at the 28-minute mark.
Yeah, the execution's just so much harder for DDG, I feel. You know, you have the Ezreal, you have the Akali, but these tools are so hard to execute against stuff like the Vex and the Poppy, and when your Bard goes down so early, you lose a lot of the consistent CC throughout the fight, and some of the extra utility from the heal, the speed up, stuff like that, that really solidifies your team fighting strength. But the Poppy just able to run over Troy in that fight, as well as Nidalee making Brownie fans' life extremely difficult. And once Yorick is committed onto a fight, I mean, that's literally the worst scenario for a Yorick to be on. So, I mean, it's definitely becoming more and more difficult as this game progresses. And with the dragon stacking neutralized, I'd say that, you know, Akuma has a great position in this fight, in this game, Ferris.
They absolutely do. The Yorick pick really has not been super effective for the side of DropDeadGaming. It's not finding the pressure that they want. It's very, very weak in those team fights, like you said, because it was Never Outmatched to just walk up in the front line and die immediately. This is Cyrilda's Grudge and Trinity Force in the build. You are not tanky at all. So dropping immediately there. And I'm going to go back to my point I made very much earlier in the game when we were talking about these team compositions. Evil Lobster is the solo engage for this DropDeadGaming squad is going to have a hard time staying alive and really finding the follow-up they need, because it is Wukong who really likes to have that follow-up engage to follow the Cyclone or to be that secondary engage. And we're kind of seeing that in these fights, the inability of DDG to get onto that Akuma backline.
Yeah, and now you're seeing the real value of the Poppy to be able to match the Akali on the sideline. Now they found Evil Lobster before Baron.
On to Evil Lobster. This would be perfect if they can find this kill, and they do get it right before that Tempered Fate goes down. It should have been still a foregone conclusion if it did connect, but nonetheless, the Wukong's dead here. Like you said, Golden Gad, before the play happened, that is Baron time for Akuma at the 30-minute mark.
Yeah, there should be realistically almost no chance for a contest. The Wukong cannot get back in, and now it's going to be up to them to find a pick here. They want to find Mexican mid to at least find something, but they're able to knock away the Yorick.
Here we go. They're going to try and knock him down. He is so damn tanky. They are throwing everything and the kitchen sink at him. He's like, okay, guys, you got me, but my team got Baron. He's still alive somehow, by the way. It took 4 people to bring him down. Trade is good and very positive any day of the week for Akuma.
Yeah, that was a great amount of damage. I mean, almost took down Troy in the meantime, but Keyboarder now trying to face up in this mid lane. Wow, that was a huge chunk onto that Maiden. Did almost 1,000 damage. Not known for the resistances, but still, that is a big deterrent of that push there. Now Evil Lobster trying to rejoin with the team, but they're going for resets. No big objectives on the board or anything, and they need to neutralize these lanes. They need to get the Yorick back in the side lane, but we talked about how Yorick is really that side lane threat, and will the Poppy find more value in these fights? And it's really seeming so.
Absolutely. We are seeing that on the forefront in this game. And now is the time for Akuma to unlock this base from DDG's side and really build those stepping stones and that cornerstone of your winning play here. And win this game now with this Baron. You have the lead. You have 4 items on your Misfortune. You're starting to win out in these team fights. Zhonya's is almost complete for Kerrigan. Now is the time, at least, to crack the base and start to get the ball rolling. DropDeadGaming has been struggling very much in these last couple of plays. They're going to have to try and find a way to pull it back. They don't have a lot of great wave clear options either. The Ezreal doesn't do a ton of damage to these minions. So the siege potential should be very good here, but they need a little bit more time to set up these waves. We're seeing Kerrigan teleport down to the bot side, and we do see Mexican mid as well up in the top lane trying to get these waves shoved in, starting up for this 1-3-1.
Yeah, they're just forcing it down. At the very least, Poppy does not have the Baron buff to be able to push as effectively as anyone else. Now, Evil Lobster on the top side. I don't know if you want this fight. I think Poppy just wins over time, so just going to have to force themselves out as the York catches that top side wave, and they're able to just pick up mid for free. I mean, this game is definitely becoming very difficult. I will put one shout out to this MF build. I mean, it's much more old focused, but when Nidalee is just so strong, you can't really dive past her to actually find it. But nice dodge there from Viet.
So, my goodness, that was some balls of steel right there from Viet, dodging out on the Tempered Fate, dodging out onto the stun, and MM just wants the 1v1 against the Yorick. We're going to have to eat our words here, Golden Gad. We talked about how the Poppy could not hang with the Yorick. In this game, it definitely can. If you are MM, you definitely can. And Viet somehow found the kill onto Kiwi as well, is just going balls to the wall right now into the Zanyas, is going to get too over aggressive and dies, but the follow-up from Keyboarder and fails might just be enough. Flashing forward, uses the barrier to reduce some damage. In goes Troy on this Akali. What can you find? One more charge with perfect execution, is able to get one, but the inhibitor will still fall. Brandy Fan, the only one left for Drop Dead.
Yeah, Brandy Fan gonna need to find some poke here to at least dissuade getting any Nexus turrets down. But obviously they respawn in the season, not as influential. But it looks like they just want to go for the end here. Could be pretty dangerous.
Really
Kerrigan going down to half.
First Nexus turret is gone. There goes the True Shot Barrage. And now they signal for the retreat. I think that is very, very smart. If they did try and go for the end, I think they would have been killed. And then that could have been soul point potentially for DropDeadGaming. But now Kiwi's going to be annoying. He's going to cancel these backs as best as he can. Without dying, though, you do have to still be very careful. He's actually going to commit a Tempered Fate. I don't know what this is going to accomplish here, but he's really just trying to stall for the rest of the team to show up. MM might want to fight. We got something brewing right now. But they're just going to get the retreat off, and Kiwi's just being annoying.
Yeah, Bard doing Bard things, as per usual. No crazy tank Bard build. Does, of course, have the extra damage from the Blood Song, so a little bit even more annoying to some of these squishy members, but they're going to be able to grab up the Drake because of that tempo advantage. I don't know if going for the Nexus turrets when they do respawn now is as advisable. I mean, it's 3 minutes. It's really a short respawn timer compared to Inhib, which is 5, so definitely something that, maybe they're just not used to in this new season. It's not as influential to pick up those turrets.
It's something I totally forgot about. Like, when you said that, I was like, oh yeah, they do respawn. Something I actually was really excited for when they talked about the Season 15 changes, and I actually haven't had a whole lot of solo queue games where that actually has come into effect, but I guess it is a rare case where your Nexus towers are respawning and you're not just losing the game. So that could come into play, but like you said, it secures the soul point. Will DropDeadGaming survive another 5 minutes in this game? Now that is going to be a tall task because Akuma is ready to put it away. They are 9,000 gold in the lead. They are setting up, chomping at the bit to get at these towers, crack open these inhibitors, have more pressure flow into the DropDeadGaming base. And one more team fight here, Golden God, will seal the deal on this series.
Yeah, they really want this team fight into maybe a Baron afterwards, or maybe just peel off, because it's going to seem pretty difficult to actually get through this, to be able to kill that turret on the top side. At the very least, DDG did push out that bot wave, so they have a little bit more time to play with in this one. But Baron spawning in just 28 seconds means that they definitely have a big task ahead of them to even get through this line of Nidalee Spears, Misfortune Ease, and the Poppy's probably just going to be extremely annoying for Lobster. And, you don't really have good snap engage. So it's going to be up to, I think, Akuma to make a mistake if DDG wants to find anything.
Well, now the Baron is spawning. So this is going to kind of break up the flow of this siege and is going to pull DropDeadGaming over towards that objective, where then Akuma is going to have an easier time finding this fight, lest they give over the Baron, which would be ill-advised because that would very much increase the siege potential of Akuma and probably end up stealing the deal on this game. So you can see now DDG is moving into the jungle. They know that Akuma is moving back to clear away this Drake, but it's so dangerous when they have very limited vision and they don't know who's waiting inside of these brushes, as the Baron is getting down very low. They are burning through this so quickly. The question is, can Evil Lobster get inside of the pit for a steal? They're playing bodyguard so well, but they're actually turning this fight, and instead of finishing the Baron, they want to finish this game. They've already found one. It's Kiwi who drops Evil Lobster with the Cyclone, is trying to buy some peel, trying to escape from the rest of Akuma, who's hot in pursuit. They only get one, and they should just turn their attention right back towards the Baron.
Yeah, the Redemption doing great there. Troy kind of on a bit of a flank. Not sure if he was actually spotted out here. Kerrigan walking in now. Poppy in the area. I think it's going to be too difficult to find anything, so they're just going to cut mid-wave here and try and at least push out so they aren't under immediate threat as soon as this Baron does go down the steal. So close there, but not actually going to go through. MF actually the one to secure that buff, so definitely a little bit risky there, as now DDG have to mount quite the defense if they want to stay in this one.
And it's going to be up to Akuma. They got 3 minutes. Let's see what they can do with this. Their waves aren't necessarily in the best spot, especially that bot wave. They're going to have to shuffle that one all the way up to that inhibitor tower while kind of syncing up their mid and top wave as well if they want to get full effectiveness of this 1-3-1, which they have been looking for throughout this game when they've had the Baron buff. So we'll see how their plan of attack is. And if you are DropDeadGaming, you have to hold on. You need to mount a defense here. You got to make sure you're safe. Stay away from that bullet time. Or maybe even try and find a snap engage. But again, it's so difficult when it is just Evil Lobster who is that sole engage for the team. But we're going to see how this ends up breaking down now as the TP's coming right on in.
Yeah, it's so tricky because all the targets you'd want to go in on, maybe the Vex, maybe the Nidalee, they both have that Zhonya's, and because your CC isn't so consistent, you can't just burst down these members because you only have that knock-up to start off the fight. So it really does come down to, can you find the poke? Can you maybe find Leona? Which is crazy to say that that is your most vulnerable target. But it really is the truth. Since Keyboarder does have that spell shield, I will say Troy is cutting the mid-wave here, but they need to kill the mid-wave at hand first.
Nexus Tower is very close to falling. I don't know if that second Nexus Tower is alive or not. I know there's a really big spectator bug about those Nexus Towers, but we got a fight that's happening right in front of our eyes here. Temper Fate lands onto 2, and now Troy looks for that backline engage, but he's dropped down so very low, but the first kill goes to Bradyfan. They've knocked down Fails. This could be the defense that DDG wanted. Bradyfan is still untouched. Vietnamese is going forward, flash away from Bradyfan, and it's still 4 alive here for DDG. Keeper's Verdict is being channeled, is going to go through, is going to miss onto Troy. It's 3 versus 4. They definitely have enough in the tank to defend. It is still Keyboarder that's alive, but Troy has found the Shuriken. Flash away from the Misfortune to try and escape. Now they are in hot retreat. A little bit more damage this Misfortune has. MM doing their very best to keep their AD carry alive. They still want to press forward. They still want to try and end this game. This is so dangerous, but a flash forward from MM. They want to get this game over with. They're able to knock down Kiwi. 3 versus 3. Viet able to trade 1 for 1. Keyboarder's getting very low. Troy's able to find that kill. MM is next on the menu. DropDeadGaming refuse to lose in this game number 3, and they hold on at 41 minutes.
Yeah, what a huge play there from Troy. Finds the Shuriken flip out of thin air, finds a lot of damage onto Keyboard and forces out that kill. But Troy goes down to the minions at the end of that play. Very unfortunate for them. As you know, they could have mounted a defense and maybe even went for that dragon, but now it's a little bit scary. You don't have the damage of the Akali, and your base is wide open. I mean, if they were able to get Soul there, they really could have mounted a bigger defense, but now, you know, I feel so done and dusted. They're going to go straight for that drag to at least get it off the map, or maybe even just go for a bait play, try and catch someone slipping up, but no, they're just going to finish that objective. And despite the good defense there from DDG, but it feels like it's just too little, too late, once again.
Convincing win for the side of DDG in Game 1. Even more convincing win for Akuma in Game 2. It's pretty poetic that we get a super close game number 3. Now, Akuma has, for the most part, been in control, but DropDeadGaming refuses to drop, as we're going to see this last fight happen once again, Golden, and this was so chaotic.
Yeah, Troy immediately gets pretty low in the backside of this fight, but doesn't commit the perfect execution, which you'll see is going to come up huge later on. Brandyfan able to do the damage to take down that Vex after the Zanyas does come through, and it's looking pretty even by now, and you know, you do go for that Poppy ult, but it ends up just going for the Akali on the backside, but it doesn't end up landing, and with the W down for Mexican mid, Troy has all the space, and that Shuriken flip was so influential there. Unfortunately, the W does come back up, so not able to finish off that kill immediately, which really could have sealed the deal and translated to that Drake, but it ended up going mute as now the push is back in the tables for Akuma as they're going towards this bot side. They want to kill this inhibitor and maybe force a triple inhib in just a couple minutes.
It was Fails who did have to use the flash in the picture-in-picture. Thought that they caught him, but we might see a fight started off right here. Kerrigan's actually going right on in. Tempered Fate onto 2. The inhibitor does drop. Goes Golden, does Kerrigan to keep himself alive for the moment. Viet is on retreat, and Kerrigan is down. Troy's into the back line. He goes Golden as well. The front line from Akuma is gone. DDG, they are winning this fight. It's a double kill to Kiwi of all people. They just will not lose. Their Nexus towers are back. Their Nexus is safe, and they hold on once again.
Oh my god, is this going to be the start of a tragic tale? Or will Akuma finally be able to stabilize and maybe win this out? But now Baron is spawning in 35 seconds, and with the death timers at 40, they should have the tempo to be able to take that buff for free, unless MM and Keyboarder have something to say about it. But now these fights are going to get a little tricky. You're lacking your Nidalee that keeps that MF so safe, and Leona as well. Never outmatched, just going to walk forward, has the Maiden still in the pocket as they set up on this objective. Mexican mid forced out, and now Baron in the sights of DDG. Did they mount a large enough comeback?
We're going to see that right now as MM is being engaged upon. But this Poppy is so tanky. Flashing forward is Evil Lobster, but he just gets bopped right back with the Keeper's Verdict. But there's no one here to help out the Poppy. And the shutdown will go to Troy, the tankiest member. Pretty much the only front line for Akuma is gone. This Baron is going to go over to DDG. It is their turn now to go onto the offensive here in this next chapter of this game. 45 minutes. We are still going, still yet to find a victor of our first series of Titan Immortal.
I'm getting pretty worried here for Akuma. I think they may have lost the plot. I think they might have thrown the game. It's definitely a much more difficult situation now that mid inhibs respawned. You have your Nexus turrets back. Such a scary position now. The Yorick might be the weakness again. They're looking to find Never Outmatched on this side lane. Veils wants to look for it. Viet's going to show, though. Still walking up, still trying to threaten. Try and force someone out, and Evil Lobster is coming around on the side here in this one.
It was so close. Never Outmatched was so close to stepping too far forward, but so good that they stayed reserved. They were bouncing back and forth. They were battling in their own minds. Should I contest this wave? Should I not contest this wave? They decided not to step up, and that saved their life. Viet stepped out of the brush, revealing the position of everyone there at Akuma. And still 5 members strong for DDG now with this Baron buff. It's them who is on the offensive. The script has been completely flipped. There's still tier 2s available in the side lanes. Never Outmatched does have to be careful, though. Both Kerrigan and Viet want to find them. But they are so tanky now. I mean, they don't have a whole lot of tank items outside of the Hullbreaker and the Merc Treads. And Fails is down. So this is now 5 versus 4.
Yeah, that could really crack open this game, and that could really end it. I mean, that was one of their big engage tools, is that Leona, and now it's not so straightforward to find the combo with the MF. They just need to stall out now. They need to wait for that Leona to come back up. At the very least, they have the a bit of kind of defensive tools with the anti-engage, but it's still so difficult with these cannon minions just barreling down these turrets. If they get 2 inhibitors, this could be extremely worrisome, as the Soul Drake is going to spawn quite soon. Barely goes wide.
Troy is doing such a good job on the side of these fights, trying to be as much of a nuisance as possible. Now, potentially, the game-winning play here for DDG might happen right now, as there's a 2-person stun from Kiwi. That was excellent to start off this play, but do they have enough in the tank to finish this game off? Kerrigan is into the back line, does go golden, but that only delays the inevitable. He will fall. DropDeadGaming, they've dropped both Nexus turrets. They have dropped the Nexus. They just don't lose. In the regular season, they continue their dominance from the fall split, and they will win our first first series of Titan Immortal against Akuma.
From the clutches of defeat to a solid victory to close it out. You do not want to see that if you're Akuma. I mean, DropDeadGaming barely squeaks away after the Nexus turret respawns on that side, and they find the miracle fight that translates perfectly into the Baron, and a couple final, picks off onto fails really just ends the game. They don't have the utility to be able to lock them down and find a big MF ult like they found previously in the game, and I mean, it wasn't even that sloppy. They just overcommitted a couple times, and that's really going to cost them. Kind of similar to that game one. They overcommitted in a couple fights. They lost that one, and DropDeadGaming is going to make them pay. Take that series 2-1 in probably the most nail-biting way you can.
We were very much happy. At least I can say I'm happy with how that series went. We started the season with probably the most hype matchup we possibly could have, the two finalist organizations from the fall split. And that game 3 definitely delivered. I almost for sure thought DropDeadGaming was going to lose, and we were going to be sitting here in the post game talking about how this team didn't drop a game in the regular season last time, and now they've already lost their first game. What do we think about them going forward? Well, they completely stopped that possibility. They continue to win. And this time, they battle back from so many deficits. A really good sign for this team going forward, Golden Gad.
Yeah, I mean, really showing exactly what made them champions. I mean, I think that's the kind of thing where you need to dig so deep to find the angle. And, they played around the cooldowns that make it so difficult for them to find the fights. And once the gold was online, they finally put it into action and were able to close out that match from, basically as far down as you can. They were down 11k gold. They were down an inhib, down the Baron as well, but they were able to mount quite the defense. But that's kind of what Titan Esports is about. It's about resilience. It's about digging deep with the squad that you've built and finding wins just like that. So real big shout outs. And if you love Titan Esports, it's a great time to plug our new friend or foe merch here for Titan Esports. It's a new design for all of these, and I mean, they got mugs, they got hats, they got hoodies, they got that really sweet windbreaker / vest style jacket as well. And just for week 1, there's a very special discount code FlashOnF. If you want to get a nice discount, definitely check out fofesports.com/Titan and use discount code FlashOnF if you'd like to pick up any of this sick merch that is directly delivered by friend or foe.
Definitely going to be taking advantage of that. I know for certain that I'm going to be buying some of that Titan merch. I'm supporting this fantastic organization that has brought us all these very exciting matches and given us opportunities to cast all of these exciting matches as well, not only watch them. So I'll be ordering that. I will definitely be wearing my Titan merch as well on the broadcast. So that's really exciting. Shout out to friend or foe for making that happen, along with Titan for pulling that off. So that's super cool. And that is going to do it for our broadcast for tonight. We had an absolute banger here on Titan Immortal to open up 2025. And hopefully we're going to have matches like that all season long. Next week, it will be, I believe, Slayer and Quacks on the desk. So next week, you're going to see those two illustrious casters take the realm, and then we will come back for week number 3, myself and Golden Gad. So thank you so much, everyone who watched tonight. Shout out to our observer, Wookie, and our producer, Chris, from behind the scenes, making everything look beautiful on the stream. And we will see you in the next one. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great night.
You do like do 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 like do 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 crazy. Oh oh.